judge has denied bail for Cody Balmer, the man accused of setting fire to Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's home. Balmer told police he planned to beat Shapiro with a hammer if he was able to encounter him. He faces charges including attempted homicide and arson. President Trump reacting.
The attacker basically wasn't a fan of anybody. It's probably just a whack job. And certainly a thing like that cannot be allowed to happen.
Balmer's preliminary hearing is set for next Wednesday.
Texas teen murder suspect Carmelo Anthony walking out of jail yesterday just hours after a judge significantly reduced his bond from $1 million to $250,000. His defense arguing he has no prior criminal record and is not a flight risk. Anthony's accused of stabbing Texas track star Austin Metcalf to death during a meet earlier this month. He's required to wear an ankle monitor, remain under house arrest, and can only leave his home with the judge's permission. Meantime, there's this. An Obama-appointed judge temporarily blocking the Trump administration's efforts to revoke the legal status of over 500,000 migrants that are here under President Biden's controversial mass parole program. The Trump administration advising the migrants to leave the country before next Thursday when their parole hearings and work permits were to be canceled. But District Judge Indira Talwani writing in her order that each of those 530,000 plus migrants must have an individual case-by-case review, and that takes a long time.
Probably our first ever Titanic meme up front. Lots of breaking news today, and it is going to be a rowdy day, the worst day of the year. This is the day that Democrats love. It's Christmas morning for every single lib. They get to steal your hard-earned money and shove it directly into their sick little agendas in Washington, D.C. We are so tired of it. We are so sick of it. It's tax day, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing our very best to make it a good day for someone. We're giving away a Tesla. Oh, man. Tax day sucks, and it sucks even more when you realize what the federal government has done with your money. It is totally criminal. Will people be going to jail? That's what we're going to talk about today, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Carmelo Anthony set free in one of the worst moments in American judicial history. We're going to talk about everything that happened in that case and why race relations are at absolute rock bottom in this country. Internet roasts Katy Perry and a bunch of bimbos for going to space as astronauts on a crew. They're none of those things. All of it is completely fraudulent and embarrassing for Jeff Bezos of Amazon. We're going to talk about that, and also the new bombshell that is happening inside of DOGE. The president and his administration are teasing out something that is a horrifying new finding, and we think we know what it is. We've been reading the tea leaves and following the breadcrumbs. Ladies and gentlemen, we think we have a lock on this one. Link Lauren and Mike Benz join the show to break down what is happening in the intel community and inside of culture. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. With everything happening in the economy, there's rocky roads ahead. Obviously, President Trump is exorcising the demons, as they say, out of the economic system. But that still means that there's going to be tough roads ahead. Make sure that you are financially sound. Make sure that you are out of debt. Debt accrued like at a crazy level inside of these last 4 years with Joe Biden running this country into the ground. We want you to get out of credit card debt, and our friends at American Financing can help you do that. Many people are relying on credit cards. In fact, more people than ever in this country are using credit card debt to pay the gaps. This credit card debt is extremely expensive. Debt is skyrocketing, and people are very stressed out in this country. If you're a homeowner, you don't have to face this uncertainty alone. My friends at American Financing can help you take control. They can help you get access to the equity in your home and help you pay down high mortgage, high interest credit card debt. Ladies and gentlemen, giving you peace of mind, real savings. On average, people like you are saving $800 per month. Plus, they may be able to get you a loan in as little as 10 days. It costs you nothing to get started. Call 888-528-1219. That's 1219, AmericanFinancing.net/betting. AmericanFinancing.net/betting can give you a cushion in these uncertain times. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a few things that are absolutely certain. That President Trump is doing his very best to make this a non-painful day for as many Americans as possible. President Trump with an interview out this morning and even yesterday in the Oval Office saying he wants to get rid of the income tax for the majority of Americans. The income tax was started 100 years ago. This country, what would you do if you had a flux capacitor, if you go back in time? What's the number one thing you would change to the writing of the Constitution? If you had a DeLorean, a flux capacitor, and you could zip back to the signing of the constitutional documents and you could whisper into the ear of our founding fathers, put one thing in here. Some people are like, write the Second Amendment as though people with brain injuries could understand it, okay? Like some people would say, write in, political speech, right? In the First Amendment, perhaps, to stop all of the discriminatory policies, deplatforming, and so on. A lot of people would change a lot of different things. Something that I would put in there, I would argue I haven't given it a ton of thought, but if I were to go back and I were to whisper at someone, writing the original Constitution and our rights, I would say a right to freedom from federal taxation. Taxation should be left to the states. The states are the laboratories of democracy. People can live in high tax states if they wish. States spend the money better, and the dollars are closer to you. So think about this in proximity of your family, right? If you give $1 to your child, then you're going to be with the child. It's going to, your kid's going to spend the $1 at an ice cream cone or get a popsicle, right, on a hot summer day. You're going to see how that money's spent. There's going to be a risk reward associated with it, and it's going to be spent on something that is generally wholesome and that's good for your family. If you just leave a bag of money on a street corner in a bad neighborhood, there's a really good chance it's not going to have a good ROI for you. It's going to be farther away from you. You're going to be more disconnected from the actual expenditures of the money. The best way to spend money is when you're spending money on yourself. That's the highest value turnaround, okay? That's the tightest vector of money value. I'm just saying this because we paid our taxes, and it's just such an. It's not a fun day, was it, Klein? It's like not a fun. This is not a fun day. It doesn't matter. You're getting punished for making money, but also you're like laying yourself bare before the IRS, who could at any moment come in and make your life a living hell. Why? Because of this metaphor. The best way to spend money is the tightest circle. You spending your money on yourself. That's going to have a direct value loop. The worst way to spend money is when your money is being spent by somebody else that you don't know, has no connection to you, and you see no value in it. And that is the federal government, and that is taxation. I would have whispered to our founding fathers, write it in there, that it should be illegal to have a federal income tax. Federal taxes should be illegal. The feds there's a ton of ways that the feds can make money. They can print their own money if they need to. They can tariff stuff. They can put VAT taxes on things, consumption taxes. The feds can work with the states, obviously. The feds and the states have a bunch of back and forth financially. But the federal government should not be, it's be a very simple amendment in the Constitution, one of the original Bill of Rights. The federal government shall not tax its citizens. It shall have no right to tax its citizens. Simple. It's individual citizens. Leave that taxation to the states. The best run states are where everybody would flow to. It's happening right now. There's no income tax in Florida, for instance. The best managed states is where all the people would move to, and that's where all of the power would go to. Because then you'd get more congressional seats, right? And that's the way the system, the 10-year census, reapportionment of congressional seats, the best run states, the most efficient states gets the largest voice in Congress, and so on. That would have been genius. I don't have a time travel machine, but on days like today, it's particularly painful, and we really, truly wish that had been done at the founding of our country. Unfortunately, 100 years ago, they decided that they were going to make an income tax just for the rich. You see how that works? Every person pays taxes. Those taxes are a penalty for living in society, a penalty for owning your home, a penalty for buying or engaging in commerce. It's an atrocious system. It could and should be done away with. President Trump says he wants to. Here's an interview from this morning, President Trump, saying, yeah, I think that doing away with the income tax would be a smart thing for this country to do. If he did this, Trump wouldn't only win in the midterms, he'd also, they'd probably cancel the 2028 election and just say, you get a freebie. You just keep going for another 4 years if Trump did this. Here we go.
Aranceles van a reemplazar el income tax?
Yeah,
You know, you're the only one that's asked me that. Oh, I deal with all these big financial geniuses. Nobody ever. There is a chance that the money from tariffs could be so great that it would replace. In the old days, about 1870 to 1913, the tariffs were the only form of
Correct.
money. And that's when our nation was relatively the richest. We were the richest.
Donald Trump saying this yesterday, that he's looking forward to getting rid of the income tax. Trump said this in the Oval Office. Here we go.
Maybe, our country was the strongest, believe it or not, from 1870 to 1913. You know why? It was all tariff-based. We had no income tax. Then in 1913, some genius came up with the idea of let's charge the people of our country, not foreign countries that are ripping off our country. And the country was never that kind of wealth. We had so much wealth, we didn't know what to do with our money. We had
Trump, this is on the mind. Trump's administration has said regularly this is something that they plan on doing. Ridding the majority of Americans with the income tax. Again, the income tax was designed, it was originally written to affect the 1%. How'd that go? How'd that work out over the last 100 years? We could revert it back to that. I'm totally in favor of taxing rich people. In fact, some of the conversation that's going on right now, especially from the national populist wing, from Steve Bannon, for instance, who will be joining the show, I think this week. It's awesome. We're very excited to have Steve Bannon on. Is raise the taxes on the wealthy, get rid of taxes for the bottom 50%, bottom 75% of earners, get rid of income tax altogether. It'd be much better to pass an amendment that makes income taxes illegal in this country. Boy, you want an economic boom. Also, just for fun, because Donald Trump was doing a Spanish language interview, Trump did learn how to say MAGA this morning in Spanish. This is apropos to absolutely nothing. We just think it's awesome. Here we go.
Mr. President, I'd like to teach you how to say let's make America great again in Spanish. So, vamos a hacer América grande otra vez.
America grande otra vez.
Please get me the Cinco de Mayo tweet, the greatest tweet of all time from Donald Trump. The best taco bowls are at Trump Tower. Happy Cinco de Mayo. I love a Mexican. That's what Donald Trump said. And then Donald Trump goes on to, they said that this would be the end of Donald Trump, and then he goes on to win the Hispanic vote. The comedian, there it is. The best Trump tweet. Fight me. This is the best Trump tweet ever. Okay, we have a lot of important stuff to talk about, but we just have to. I've never heard Trump speak Spanish, and Trump speaking Spanish enlivens, enriches my soul. You just have to post it. You just have to put it up. 143,000 likes, 96,000 reposts, 20,000 comments. Is President Trump. Happy Cinco de Mayo. The best taco bowls are made in Trump Tower. I love Hispanics. Now, if you click on the photo, Klein, can you click on the photo? Can we navigate around this photo? Just something really fun. Zoom in on the right side of the taco bowl. You'll see Trump's ex-wife Marla Maples in a bikini, which is a special little Easter egg here in this post. Yes, enhance. There it is. There's in a green bikini, Marla Maples sitting there on a stack of stuff that Trump's reading right now. Marla Maples, she's the mother of Tiffany Trump. Anyway, just a fun little Easter egg there in this photo. It's one of the more famous photos of all time. I think it's great. Marla Maples, we've met Marla Maples. She's great. She's hangs out at Trump's properties. Her and Tiffany have a great time. They're really friendly with the Trump family. It's awesome. It's awesome. Tiger Woods just is about to marry into the Trump family. Did you know this? Tiger Woods is about to marry Trump's daughter-in-law, right? Don Jr.'s ex-wife. It's called Vanessa Trump, right? The mother of four of Trump's grandkids. Tiger Woods and her are dating and are a serious thing. So what a timeline, right? Exciting timeline. How is your money being spent? We're going to talk about some horrific DOGE findings and some of the horrors about well, what's got to be the biggest finding in the federal government, because they're saying that there's a huge legal process that must be followed. Trump is saying he's going to announce it. The press secretary is saying that Trump's going to announce it. Elon Musk is teasing it. And apparently it's going to lead to mass resignations in Washington, D.C. So because it's tax day, let's go ahead and look at how some of this money is spent. We don't know if this is the massive announcement. We don't know. But we do know that there has been a monster foreign influence operation that is funded by our country that has just been uncovered. Foreign dark money. We've been warning about this for a very long time. I can't wait to talk to Mike Benz about it. Foreign dark money has been shoved into the system. You paid for this to rig your elections. That is the greatest insult. They take your money to steal your country from you. A new study has uncovered that hundreds of millions of dollars in foreign dark money was laundered into the U.S. political system by a left-wing slush fund to rig ballots in 25 different states. That's the tip of the iceberg. Here we go.
A report. What kinds of state initiatives were they trying to influence? What's the topic?
So it's one thing to know that this is not a hypothetical situation. We have been able to trace that, over $100 million of foreign money has flown through the 1630 fund in these states across the country, and they are working to implement some far left and extremist public policies on issues related to abortion, election law, and other things across the country. Drug policy. They are trying to sidestep the legislative process and get the most extreme version of public policy possible.
But why would they want that, Caitlin?
Well, because they know that their far left agenda often cannot withstand the scrutiny of a typical legislative process. So they are sidestepping the legislative process, and they are getting these extreme public policy measures on the ballot, and they're using foreign dark money to do it.
So
it's a terrible problem.
Let me read this. This is a statement from the 1630 Fund to Fox. It says 1630 Fund is proud to support ballot initiative campaigns that are working to advance economic opportunity, reproductive rights, and democracy. Our donations to these initiatives are made in compliance with local, state, and federal laws. I'm assuming if these bans go into effect in other states, that would end. I'm just still trying to get to the nut of the problem here, which is, so they support a far left agenda, but what kind of things are they looking for? They want to support like reproductive rights. I'm assuming that is for more abortion access. But when it comes to, they say they want to support democracy. What would that be?
Well, when the left says the word democracy, that's their catch-all for, we're trying to do good things. But when you take a look under the hood, you realize that it's an extremist agenda. We saw that foreign-backed funds came into Ohio last year that would have forced the state to gerrymander their congressional districts and change the way that the state conducted elections. There is nothing democratic about using foreign dark money in these state ballot issue campaigns. And states have, woken up, to this problem and realized that their state constitutions and policies are vulnerable to the corruption that is foreign money. And that's why we have seen such momentum across the country passing these bans prohibiting foreign funds from being used in these ballot issue campaigns.
All right, Caitlin Sutherland, thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring all of this together. Let's tie it all together. So Fox is like pecking around, pick, pack, 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 pack. So wait a second. So like a bunch of foreign billionaires are funding ballot initiatives in our country. How's that even legal? Well, let me show you how it's legal. This from the New York Times. Man, have you ever heard me say, wow, you should really read this New York Times article. It's so smart and good. This is the only time I will ever tell you to do that. ActBlue is the Democrat fundraising juggernaut. ActBlue is in chaos right now. Democrats cannot win without ActBlue because it's not just about dollars donated, it's about infrastructure. It's about having these massive lists with all of this data. How does this work? A Democrat that wants to run for office needs to have a massive list of donors in order to hit up for donations. Every Democrat that wants to run for president has to have this massive list of donors, people who've donated to the Democrat Party. There needs to be an infrastructure to reach out to them, to email them, to text message them. It's massive, these massive apparatus that goes into electioneering in this country. ActBlue is the clearinghouse for that in the Democrat Party. What's happened as of late? ActBlue is in absolute and total collapse. 7 of its senior officials have left the group. Its last remaining lawyer has been locked out of their account. The unions that represent ActBlue are screaming about the uncertainty. There's no more leadership there. The reason the attorney was locked out of their account was because they were rage posting on the internal servers about whistleblowers. What would they be whistleblowing about? Well, you've possibly seen, if you follow James O'Keefe, that ActBlue donations are totally fraudulent. Or at the very least, there's proof of plenty of fraudulence throughout their system. How does this work? James O'Keefe will walk up to a little old granny's house, living in like a $50,000 split level, built in the 1960s, a granny who's like on Social Security, and this granny will have donated. We have a ton of examples of this, but you can just pop one up I know we got plenty of tweets of this. Elon Musk shared them. These grannies James O'Keefe will be like, ActBlue says that you've donated $80,000 to the Democrat Party in 1,200 separate donations. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? That's not me. I don't do that. Well, it's linked to your address, and here's how it works. Foreign dark money, foreign billionaires, China, whatever, money launders through ActBlue in small donations into the coffers of Democrats. This is probably how all the USAID money was being spent. This is most likely what they're about to announce with DOGE. The single largest foreign influence, you're starting to see like the little pieces put together. It's the largest foreign influence operation in American history is being money laundered through ActBlue. Now, somebody big just got in trouble for this. Jasmine Crockett, one of our favorites. Jasmine, who says black people should never farm. Black people are done with farming, you see. Talked about that yesterday. Jasmine just got hit with an FEC complaint. Why? Because one of her big donors who donated a bunch of money to her campaign, which raised over $1 million, almost $1 million through ActBlue. I think the final number was $850,000. One of her biggest donors never donated to her. Well, isn't that a little strange? One of the biggest donors to Jasmine Crockett, who donated over 50 times to her campaign, he never actually did donate to her campaign. It's on video. He's like, no, I don't even, what are you talking about? It's money laundering at scale. That's why ActBlue is in collapse, and it's going to roll up so many people inside of the Democrat Party. That's what we think this massive, horrific discovery from DOGE is. This is how the USAID money is laundered. USAID pays think tank, Democrat-run think tank, let's just say $1 billion, okay? Let's just use nice round numbers, $1 billion. 500 million of that goes right into the pocket of Bill Kristol or some neocon that's running it, and that money then gets laundered through ActBlue to elect Democrats. That's why Democrats want to fund USAID. Yeah, every Black Lives Matter link, we're going to talk about Carmelo Anthony in just a second, every Black Lives Matter link went straight to ActBlue. Every donor to Black Lives Matter, straight to ActBlue. It's a Democrat fundraising and data vehicle that has been manipulated, clearly according to available data, is being manipulated and is being used for money laundering. So is that what's being teased right now? This is how your tax dollars are being spent. By the way, USAID. Is that what's going on? Well, here's what we know. Karoline Leavitt has teased a horrifying finding that is so big that the president must announce it. Here we go.
And then the president on Thursday told us that there was an incredible discovery that the DOGE team had made. He called it horrible and incredible. Can you reveal that yet? Give us details on what it was about?
There has been a discovery. I hate to leave you hanging on a cliff, but I don't want to get ahead of the president on that. But I can confirm there has been a discovery. It's just not quite yet ready for release.
Here's what President Trump has said about this horrifying DOGE discovery. Let's go.
And into the United States.
Sir, do you have a sense of how long Elon Musk's mission will last and when he will depart?
Well, Elon is fantastic. And I think he's a patriot, and I think it's a shame what they're doing with his car company, and a great car. It's a great car, great product. And it tells you what a patriot he is. He's amazing. No, I mean, as long as he'd like. I like smart people, and he's a smart person. I also like him personally. When he endorsed me, that's when I really got to know him. I knew him a little bit before that, but not much, and then he endorsed me. And it was a very strong, embracing endorsement, as we all know. And I would say Elon will stay for a certain period of time, and then he's going to want to get back to his businesses full time. But he's done a fantastic job. We found hundreds of, think of it, just hundreds of, we found millions of dollars of fraud and abuse and waste. And they're still going, I mean, they're going strong. They found something today that's horrible. It's horrible. So what they found, well, you'll find out very soon. What they found is incredible. And
you'll find out very soon. Karoline Leavitt saying, I can't announce this. Karoline Leavitt announces stuff all day and night from the press dais. She's saying, I can't announce it. It's too big. President Trump must announce it. Donald Trump saying it's horrible. It's incredible. They just briefed me on it. Elon Musk saying something pretty remarkable here. Elon Musk, in a recent speech, saying there's a massive amount of corruption. They send the money overseas to non-government organizations. Then it'll go through a bunch of them. And then that money comes back to the United States and lands in the pockets of Democrats. It's the most massive at-scale money laundering operation in human history. Let's listen.
My question is about USAID. Has the DOGE team found any evidence that any of the radical left Democrats like Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer have received money directly from USAID? And if so, will we be hearing about that evidence anytime soon?
Yeah. So there is a massive amount of corruption, but it is circuitous. So what happens is there's money that, obviously it's your taxpayer money, that is then sent to various government organizations who then send it to NGOs, which an NGO is a non-governmental organization, but obviously if it's a government-funded non-governmental organization, it's just an organization, it's just a government. And effectively there's a giant fraud loophole, which is that the government can send money to an NGO that is then no longer governed by the laws of the United States. So they'll send the money overseas to one NGO, then they'll go through a bunch of them, and then I'm highly confident that a bunch of that money then comes back to the United States and lands in the pockets of the people you just mentioned. But it is a circuitous route. It's not like it doesn't go directly, but let's just say that there's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress where I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while earning, how'd they get 20 million if they're earning 200,000 a year? It sounds, nobody can explain that. So something's, yeah, we're going to try to figure it out and certainly stop it from happening.
So how did they get, you heard him say, how did they get $20 million if they're earning $200,000 a year? You don't get paid you don't, there's no mathematical way for Nancy Pelosi to be worth $100 million. Here's the Grok list. We just asked Grok. What are the richest members of Congress? Well, let's see. Here's Nancy Pelosi. Sorry. Sorry, Nancy. Jeez. I mean, please don't come to my house in your underwear with a hammer. $250 million is what Nancy Pelosi's worth. Mark Warner in the Senate, he's worth $250 million. Oh, my. Dianne Feinstein worth $100 million. Look at these names. Daniel Goldman, $250 million. Jared Polis, wow, $400 million, governor of Colorado. Wait a second. So, how is this possible? They're not really, after taxes, they're not making that much money. All right? Not this much money. Elon Musk, and I quote, well, how'd you get, this is the list of, so here, keep scrolling. Look at that. Look at how rich these Democrat members of Congress are. They're rich. What's the net worth of Bernie Sanders? Can you ask that? What's Bernie Sanders' net worth? How'd they get $20 million, says Elon Musk, earning $200,000 a year? This is how they do it. But nobody can explain it. It's something we're going to try and figure out. Certainly at the top of our list, we're going to figure out what's happening. What is Bernie Sanders' net worth? I know that Bernie Sanders got a couple of houses and a couple of beach houses. Just a few beach houses to fight the oligarchy. That's what you need. Okay, he's worth $2 to $3 million. AOC's flying first class. We got that photo, by the way, if you want to see it. Yeah, AOC flying first class on her way to fight the oligarchy. What is AOC's net worth? Interesting. Give me that photo of AOC flying first class as we move on, ladies and gentlemen, to some of the more interesting things about what's happening here with these DOGE savings. Okay, so let's follow the breadcrumb trail. Here's what Elon Musk tweeted at Chuck Schumer. Oh, this is too good. Speaking of Chuck Schumer, this is AOC's going to run against Chuck Schumer. Here's AOC in a ticket that we looked it up. It could cost $5,000. She's flying coast to coast. She was going from New York. This was taken last week. She's going from New York to Las Vegas, direct flight, first class. Looks like a lay down seat. Okay. Wow, that's primo. Got a little light there. Look at that. Got a little light. Got her bingo cards. Got her little pillow. She's done this before. She's going to her Fight the Oligarchy campaign. Stop. Got it? On first class. Okay. Chuck Schumer. Elon Musk. Follow the breadcrumbs. Follow the trail. Put the pieces together. It's a big jigsaw puzzle, and we put it together on this program. Look at this. Chuck Schumer was hate rage tweeting at Elon Musk while he's putting the cheese on the wrong side of the burger before he grills it. Like a total sociopath. And then Elon Musk posts, Chuck, I'm starting to think that you might be getting a piece of the action with this government fraud, but no, that couldn't possibly be the reason, could it? Same week, we learned from a hearing at DOGE that the operation is that a bunch of members of Congress own government buildings. And then they force the government to pay rent for empty buildings. The government spent billions in furniture during COVID to furnish empty buildings. Who owns the furniture company? Who owns these buildings? Time to actually pull these deeds. Elon Musk says the only reason that they're coming after him and burning his company to the ground is because he's uncovering their fraud. For every dollar the government spends, it's going to go to somebody's pocket. And Democrats want it to go into theirs. Elon Musk is saying the reason why they are literally trying to kill me is because I'm taking the money back out of their pockets. Watch.
I think they're getting desperate because, the reason we're seeing this extreme amount of hatred and violence is because we're actually succeeding in getting rid of corruption and waste. If we weren't succeeding in getting rid of corruption and waste, they wouldn't care. But we are succeeding. Without President Trump, this would be impossible. So I'd just like to say, it's only possible with this president.
So what happens next? Tim Burchett, who is on the DOGE task force, says there will be mass resignations when what I know comes to light in Washington, D.C. What does that mean? What that means, how do you get a member of Congress to resign? It's really hard. What do they do? What did they just do with Bob Menendez? Please pull up that story. Bob Menendez, they just found out that he was using his committee for fraud. Gold Bar Bob was literally shoving gold bars into his pants, and now he's facing, 20 years in prison? More? He'll die in prison. He caught a case. This is how you get a member of Congress. You must do this to them to get them to resign. Sentenced to 11 years in prison for bribery, foreign aid, and obstruction offenses. Bob Menendez is in his 70s. He was a senator from New Jersey. He's in his 70s. He'll die in jail. Most likely. Yeah. It's amazing. The photos are incredible. They're it's literally gold bars shoved into his jackets, shoved down his pants, wads of bricks of cash. These are amazing. You can see the gold bars, and they were stamped. He was on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee when he was doing this scam. So that now they're finding this at scale. Now they found it at scale. It's the physical gold bars you could hold in your hand. Should have held on him. Gold's doing great. So this is how you get a member of Congress to resign. So I'm just prefacing this clip from Tim Burchett. This is how members of Congress resign. They go to prison. So listen to Tim Burchett here.
Happen? How did we end up where we are?
Well, that's an excellent question. And when you see people here in Tennessee paying 50% of their income to state, federal, and local taxes through through everything else, fees and everything else, and then they see us sending literally billions overseas to our enemies. I've uncovered $40 million going to the Taliban. A guy named Sean Ryan over Middle Tennessee, former Navy SEAL, podcaster, he and another guy named Legend had brought this to my attention. And, last term, I could not even get the Democrats to bring it up in the Senate. It passed unanimous in the House, not even a question, because they're going to have to admit they made a mistake. And they continuously made a mistake, and they did it on purpose is the worst part about it. And this graph that you're seeing, and that's 100% what it is.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a paper trail come back to Washington, D.C., and that's why I think a lot of people are nervous, and you'll see a lot of retirements because they are stealing from the American taxpayer, and now they've got their hand caught in the cookie jar, and all they can do is attack Elon Musk.
All they can do is attack Elon Musk, says Tim Burchett, and this is exactly what's happening. Here is the newest attacker of a Tesla dealership. There you go. This is your Tesla dealership attacker. This is what's behind the clown paint at your kid's birthday party. Don't hire clowns, please. Let's put them out of business. This member of society has been firebombed and tried to kill everybody at a Tesla dealership. They're now in prison. This is what they are resorting to. But there's something bigger happening here. Elon Musk says that George Soros has been funding this, the battle of the billionaires, and that they're funding terrorism, and that George Soros will go to prison. George Soros' entire life may be at stake here. Who knows how much he is a part of this sick network of funding. Elon Musk has said, if you're following and putting the pieces together, Elon Musk has said the Soroses will go to prison if they are found to be funding the terrorist attacks on Tesla. Somebody's paying for them. We went to one ourselves. We'll be dropping that footage soon. We went to one, and it was quite clear that someone was organizing it. They had little handlers. They had little people in vests, people with megaphones telling you what not to do. These people are being charged with terrorism. So, you got to understand what year it is, right? Listen, if you are an incel lib who's mentally disturbed, please learn what year it was. The year is 2025. This is not the F around years. The F around years was in the before time. That was the last couple of years. You could F around. You could burn things, you go attack things. This is the find out years. The find out years is you go to Guantanamo Bay for this. Or better yet, El Salvador. Ship them out. Anyway, so great. There's really a phenotype here too to the Tesla attackers, isn't there? Starting to sense a trend, right? Carney, like carnival freak show kind of guy, like the guy who operates the tilt-a-whirl at the carnival, right? The person doing the frying the cakes. What are those called? What are those called? The big fried. Come on, funnel cakes. Thank you. Sorry about it. Boom, 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 boom. Funnel cakes. Get them before RFK bans them. We did talk with RFK about fat shaming this weekend. It was really cool. He's doing God's work. Hoo boy. Okay, so hopefully these people get accelerated terrorism charges and go to Guantanamo Bay. Unfortunately, Carmelo Anthony will not be receiving the death penalty. Carmelo Anthony is a student. He's black. He stabbed a white student in the heart. He died in his brother's arms, Austin Metcalf. For some reason, he's being rewarded for that. It's like they want a race war. It's like what's happening here is they want a race riot. They want to create the new O.J. Simpson or the new George Floyd. This is how the left gains ground and territory, how they're able to steer the national conversation. The bond for Carmelo Anthony was lowered from $1 million to $250,000 yesterday. Carmelo Anthony then walked free after murder in cold blood. What the hell is going on with Texas? Is anybody in the Texas in the chat? Anybody from Texas in the chat? What the hell is going on with the state? Sharia super cities, then Carmelo Anthony just gets like let out of jail. So apparently he won't be tried as an adult, 17, won't be tried as an adult, cold-blooded murderer, and is now being rewarded. The family's raised $500,000 and they bought a new house with it. It's incredible. I mean, just... You want to know why Gallup polls look like this? This is race relations in the country. Remember that guy named Barack Hussein Obama Barry Soetoro, who promised, because he had a white mom and a black dad, to be the uniter of this country, bring black America and white America together. There's no red America or blue America, black or white America. There's just the United States of America, he said. Look what happened during his presidency. Look what Barack Obama did to this country. Literally black-pilled the country. Look at this. Look at the collapse in race relations. This is black and white people saying, like, how well are things going in America? Look at this catastrophic collapse because Barack Obama decided to inject a poison virus into this country, which is to racialize absolutely everything, which accelerates this system. And then when you get rulings like this with Carmelo Anthony, it just proves that the entire system has now been dead set against a certain population. Give me the two photos of the boys. Please find like a tweet with like just the two photos of the boys. Let's do a thought experiment here, just really quickly. I'll tell you, this collapse happened when Barack Obama said Trayvon Martin would look like my boy, would look like my son. This collapse happened when Barack Obama fomented the Ferguson riots in Missouri. Let me ask you a question that I think would be very easy to answer. If a white kid had stabbed Carmelo Anthony in the heart for nothing, Carmelo Anthony's unarmed, what would be happening right now? Every city in America would be burned. Every car dealership, including all the Tesla dealerships, would be burned to the ground. They'd blame it all on Trump. There would be militant communist Marxist organizations marching through the street doing exactly what they did after George Floyd. There'd be like 50 different Kyle Rittenhouses everywhere. There'd be like nightmare after nightmare after nightmare, okay, in this country. That's what would be happening right now. Now, here's the other part of the thought experiment. Do you think that there'd be leniency for Austin Metcalf? Austin Metcalf would be like let out of jail to go live his life, that his family would have raised millions, and that they'd be able to move into a new mansion, which is exactly what they just did? No, of course not. This kid would be tried as an adult, and they'd give him the electric chair, most likely. So what do you think, explain to me what white privilege actually looks like here in this country. I'm telling you that they're trying to gear this up to be OJ 2.0. They're trying to gear it up. There's some weird similarities too. Stabbing, knives, murder, the race relations, all of it. And Carmelo Anthony, the killer, the cold-blooded killer, has raised $500,000. His family says they're not going to use that, though, to fight his trial. They're going to use it to buy a new mansion. No, I kid you not. They're buying a new mansion, and they're paying for it security, which, as we've learned through the BLM scam, security is just hiring your cousin and laundering the money into your family. BLM paid millions of dollars for security. It was all the leader of BLM's brothers, brother-in-laws, sisters, who she was paying for security. They didn't have a security background. Patrice Kahlurs is her name. She started BLM. She's the one who claimed to be a trained Marxist. And this is how that scam worked. So get ready. This is what's going on. It's a sickness, ladies and gentlemen. Makes me very, very angry. It's not going to be good for the country. I hope that these things don't spiral out of control. And more importantly, I think this could be a big healing time for the country. The Trump Justice Department, especially the Civil Rights Division, should come through and do federal charges. That's what I think. You know the way to actually prove to the people that the system isn't rigged against them? By some DEI hired judge. So the judge is clearly this DEI hire as well. The way to prove that is for the Trump Justice Department to come in over the top and say, wait a second, we think this is a civil rights issue. We think that you stabbed this kid, and part of it there was hatred behind it. There was some type of race hatred that was that bled into this. And if that is to be found, then bring up federal charges and say, no, this is the DOJ civil. This is what they did with George Floyd. This is what they did with Derek Chauvin and George Floyd. So that's the way to do it. Now would be the way to like set the record right. As soon as we have Leo Terrell, Harmeet Dillon, who's the head of the Civil Rights Division, I'm going to ask about this. I think this would send a great message that you can't just like commit murder in cold blood and get rewarded for it. I think like, isn't this a time to send that message? Okay. Speaking of brand new homes or your home, I'm sure your home was not ill-gotten like this because your kid murdered somebody and you were paid for it. But nonetheless, your home is under threat. The FBI has a status of crime called house stealing. It's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners and their equity. And here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature, one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee, and they can file with your county. And just like that, boom, your home is transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans against your equity. They sell your property. You won't even know what happened until you start getting collection foreclosure notices. When was the last time that you checked your home title? Home Title Lock can protect you from scammers today. Stop what you're doing today and find out right now. Don't be a victim. Use the promo code Benny at HometitleLock.com. You'll get a free title history report and find out if your title is still in your name, what threats may be on the verge of attacking your home and your property. When you sign up, you'll also receive 14 days free $1 million triple lock protection, immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property title, urgent alerts if there are any changes, and if fraud should occur, then you have a $1 million policy to back you up at no additional cost. For peace of mind, HometitleLock.com, promo code Benny. Click on the link in the description, Home Title Lock, promo code Benny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have some very interesting things to talk about here. We have some very fascinating guests that are going to help us through some cringe moments from culture, and then some, I think, very dark and serious moments from inside of the depths of our federal government. So first off, the cringe moments from culture. Apparently, Katy Perry, Gayle King, a bunch of other bimbos went to space yesterday on a crew. They're not crew. They didn't actually go to space, really. They didn't go to what's considered space. They went to like low orbit. And they're not astronauts because, well, definitionally, they would have to actually be piloting something to be an astronaut. You'd have to be in control of something. They were simply tourists on a dick-shaped passenger vessel that flew up into the sky, launched by Dr. Evil himself, Jeff Bezos. And what they did was unbelievably cringe. This is being hailed as a scientific massive breakthrough for all humanity, but all they did was take selfies of themselves while up there. Nothing historic. Like, this is effectively like brunch in Noma. This is what it was. It was just like it was just like any Sunday brunch in Beverly Hills. It was like selfies of myself, self-promotion, like filming myself. No scientific research was done. Nothing historic was actually accomplished here. I guess we proved that like obscene amounts of plastic surgery can withstand low orbital launch, and they were up there for 3 minutes. A total. Jeff Bezos' dick rocket lasted a total of 3 minutes. Okay. When this dickhead returned back to Earth, you can see here in the clip that the brave astronauts that were not flying the plane, that were not flying the dick rocket, they were passengers on the dick rocket, and the entire thing was being remotely operated by men. The entire thing was built by men. It was funded by a man. He's one of the richest men in the world. Jeff Bezos paid $50 million to get away from his wife for like 90 minutes, which can you blame him? When it returned to orbit, these brave space explorers were screaming their heads off. Here, listen.
Parachutes deploy from the crew capsule. Those are like the guide parachutes. There go the drogue parachutes. Just free falling right there until those drogues came out. And then
What's worse?
next will be the
Actually,
main
what's worse, like
parachutes
listening
that
to
get
that
pulled
noise
out.
or listening to any Katy Perry song? I don't know. It's the impossible battle. Jeff Bezos fell directly on his face when he was trying to navigate around the castle. You can see Jeff Bezos running around here and then face planting, which is, just nothing short of just the peak of actual exploration and bravery. Okay, got it. Katy Perry then did something that, I thought I'd had enough with this Rachel Ziegler supercycle of insufferable girl boss narcissism. But instead, what we got was she kissed the ground and she liked it. She kissed the ground after being launched by men into low orbit, experiencing zero gravity just because she kind of they were falling back to Earth. That's what the zero gravity was. And then she kissed the ground. Reminder, there were astronauts, actual astronauts that were left in space for 9 months because of Joe Biden and his incompetence. And they didn't behave like this when they returned. They were stranded. They were literally lost in space. The Apollo 13 astronauts didn't behave like this. But this is what you get with insufferable girl boss feminism and extreme brain crippling narcissism. The final request that I would have is listen, they went up to space and apparently Katy Perry, while they were up in space, started screeching and singing inside of the little pod. Here we go.
The best part was when we got back in our seats after zero G's, Katie sang "What a Wonderful World."
She did?
Isn't that nice?
Oh, come on.
She sang "What a Wonderful World." I see dreams. Oh, yes.
I can't take it any longer. So space aliens that listened to Katy Perry singing out in space, please don't vaporize our planet. Please don't destroy our planet. Please. This was not an attack. We didn't mean this. Also, space. Did you have to return this Amazon delivery? Did you have to return it? There's so much more room in space. Could you have just kept them? There are a lot of planets that have been untamed and have not been visited. Could you have just sent them there? Space, did you have to give them back? Could you please keep them? Never in my life have I wanted there to be an actual Mars mission, if you know what I mean, right? Just kind of do it. Again, this is all of them. The final thing I'll say here, this is all of them wobbling out to in these little Steve Zuzu spandex suits, these obscene suits, where you're not sure where is there more silicone in the suit or in their faces and asses. Here's our question: do they even know? Do you know that your rocket is being driven by a man? It was created by a man. Did you give any appreciation to the men who built this, or the men that came before you in space, and women? I'm not thinking they're smart women astronauts. Did you ever try to tip your hat to the people that came before you and risked everything so that you could film yourself? Look at this. Could you imagine Magellan? Could you imagine if you was Christopher Columbus? If this was the Christopher Columbus, one, they would have never gotten out of port. They were just drawn photos of themselves, painted Renaissance paintings of themselves sitting in port. It would have been the version of this. No, this is not the explorer ethos. No, this is not brave at all. No, the people who deserve the credit for this are not getting the credit. And that's because of wokeness, and that wokeness has infected our brains, and there's somebody who's been exercising that out, ladies and gentlemen, of the culture. Link Lauren, somebody who's first time on the program, we're very excited about it. I've appreciated Link's commentary on cultural issues for a very long time. And Link has a brand new upcoming show with Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly launching a brand new show with Link. And so let's rock and roll. I'm sure he has plenty of things to say about this. Okay, Link, what's up? I'm sorry about that. I had to get it off my chest. Okay,
I know. I was like, when do I get to talk?
I had to get it off my non-surgically enhanced chest.
I know.
Here. Okay, so the Kardashians were there. All right, for the launch. They'll tell you everything you need to know. What's your take on this?
What's funny to me is the way they promoted this, they made it seem like they were going up there to work at the International Space Station. And after people have been trapped in space for 9 months, 5 minutes is not that impressive. I'm sorry, 5 minutes is nothing to call home about. It's almost like when a guy says, I'm going to rock your world, baby, and he lasts for 30 seconds, maybe. That's how it was when they went up into space. I mean, it was absolutely nothing spectacular. I will say, though, the left is all about body positivity and all these body types. They did not send someone up there with an ounce of body fat. They found the skinniest woman they could find to get that phallic rocket off the ground. They didn't send Lizzo into space. They sent Katy Perry, Lauren Sanchez, and the slimmest, tiniest women they could find because they're like, shit, we have a weight limit. We can't go 1 ounce over or this is going to be kaput. Okay, Benny?
What about this scientific research, which is I guess filming selfies? Like, I guess. What about this, Link? What do you think?
Well, I also have to preface for your audience, it is Holy Week. I'm going to ask for forgiveness for everything I say on this show right now in advance. The one thing I will say about Gayle King, everyone kept saying, why is Gayle King there? How is Gayle King friends with Jeff Bezos? You guys, Gayle King is a professional hanger-on. She is a professional best friend to wealthy billionaires. She glommed on to Oprah for decades. Now she's going to glom on to Jeff Bezos. That is what Gayle King does. Gayle King is not excellent at anything except hiding in the bushes outside of wealthy people's homes and stalking them and befriending them. So somehow she ended up in this vessel, in this capsule. I heard earlier you did also mention the sort of spandex outfits. I will say Lauren Sanchez, at least she was appropriately dressed for this. You know, at the inauguration, she had on a white see-through lacy bra. I think this outfit would have been more appropriate for the inauguration, Lauren Sanchez.
What does it say about the modern state of media? I know that you're launching a brand new show with Megyn Kelly, fans of Megyn Kelly, big time. What does it say? And she's gone, full flamethrower mode on modern day feminism. What does it say about modern day feminism? Please put the image back up. That they're hailing this as like this monumental achievement when really they just like were tourists for 3 minutes in a rocket flown by men.
It was literally a roller coaster for the elite, wealthy, woke Hollywood celebrity. That's all this was. Like, you do not hate Hollywood celebrities enough. When Katy Perry came down and she said, I was just in touch with my divine feminine. This is up there with the Hoffman process. Now, you have to be like really wealthy LA to be into the Hoffman process and all that BS anyway. And then you have Lauren Sanchez. She's like, looking out over the world, I saw how we were all so interconnected. I'm like, yeah, because you have my Amazon Prime password, you dimwit. So no, these women were just ridiculous. You don't hate Hollywood woke celebrities enough. And even people from within their own industry, actresses like Olivia Wilde, models like Emily Ratajkowski, are calling them out for this ridiculous theater they did. It was basically theater. It's like they flew a little too high, like your pilot got overzealous. Like, I don't think you guys were actually in space, Benny.
Technically there's a big debate going on right now whether they were actually in space, but they sure as hell acted like it when they got off and kissed the ground, which I think is actually peak insufferable narcissist girl boss. Like, I didn't do anything on this flight, and now I'm going to act like I was just like a survivor or a victim of something. What was your take on sort of the self-aggrandizement afterwards?
I know, when they were getting down on their hands and knees and like kissing the ground, I thought, is that what Lauren Sanchez does in private, to say thank you for plucking me from obscurity, Jeff Bezos, and putting a ring on my finger? I will also say I was nervous, Benny. I was skeptical because, Jeff Bezos really dragged his feet with the engagement to Lauren Sanchez. And then I thought, oh my God, maybe she didn't sign the prenup and now he's going to send her into the stratosphere. Like, why are you sending your fiance and all of her best girlfriends up into space? I call a flag on the play. I think that's a little bit sketchy to me, but they did all come down.
I thought it was genius.
And they were fine. Yeah, it was
genius.
Actually.
Wait, listen. I am totally in favor. Okay. Please don't cancel me. Chat, I'm watching you right now. Please, chat, don't cancel me. I'm totally in favor of this from Jeff Bezos, and I want to thank Jeff Bezos for this idea. Take the most insufferable feminist actresses and journalists and launch them into space. It is an awesome idea. I'm like, it's just the problem is they returned. That's my issue.
I think this was also a scientific test to see what happens to silicone and plastic surgery in space. I think these women were so happy to have zero gravity because then they could take a week off from the Botox and the filler. There's nothing pulling them down. But no, the whole thing was just absolutely ridiculous. And to circle back to what I said in the beginning, when you have people actually stuck in space that Joe Biden left there just to,
yeah, that's right.
I don't know. Maybe they fell in love, as President Trump said. Maybe there was a love connection in space. After that, this little 3-minute joyride for rich Hollywood celebrities is very anticlimactic to me.
Yes, that's right. We actually have some AIs of what it might have looked like the Botox in space. It's horrifying. This is like worse than any alien, worse than any possible like alien invasion. Please take that off the screen. That's terrifying.
They should have, instead of calling it Blue Origin, they should have called it like Ozempic in space. Like this is like Ozempic taken to the stratosphere. What happens when you're on Ozempic and you get shot into space? So no, absolutely insane. The way they hyped this up, I thought it was going to be something spectacular, but they're really getting dragged even from people within their own party and industry, which is makes me happy to see.
So final thing, since you mentioned being dragged, Wendy's, for some reason, has come out as insanely based and continues to roast Katy Perry by saying, please send her back. Mm-hmm. And they've had a number of like really successful roasts of Katy Perry here. I totally agree. I'm sure Russell Brand agrees. Your thoughts on sort of the brands getting in on this, and also so shockingly based fast food brands. I'm waiting for Shake Shack to chime in.
Yeah, Wendy's has some like sassy gay intern running their social or something. I don't know who's running the Twitter over at Wendy's, but kudos to you. The one thing about Katy Perry I'll say is she hasn't really been famous in that long. Like her songs aren't that popular. She hasn't had a hit album. She did the halftime show 11 years ago? I think in 2014 or maybe 2015 she did the halftime show. Katy Perry's not that famous. They're really acting like she's this A-list huge star and they're going to ship her off into space. No. Nobody who actually has a lot going on with their career would risk it to go up in some vessel that Jeff Bezos created. Absolutely not.
Yeah, the thing that pisses me off the most about this is that Elon Musk actually went and saved real astronauts that were abandoned by Democrats to die. I mean, they could have definitely died up there. I think they were up there. Hey, Alex, please check me on this. How long were they up there? We can grok that, but like they were up there for many, many months, at least 9 months, I think, longer than they should have been. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be like a couple days, and they were up there for a couple of months. That's like hell on earth. This is like the thing you can make a horror movie about. Elon Musk got zero credit. Okay, 9 months. Got zero credit for this. And all you see across social media is like how historic it is that this is the first woman crew to go up in a private spaceship, and that's one, false, and it's a lie. It's immoral to lie like that. The audience, they're not a crew; they're literal passengers and tourists. But also the fact that they won't give Elon Musk any praise for literal work, for real work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty irritating.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm also looking at this picture. Katy Perry has sort of like the non-binary liberal bang haircut going on. I don't know if she got in a fight with her hairdresser.
Aliens. They kind of look more like aliens. Yeah, they look like
something weird is happening. For $20,000, you can come out with this same face. But yeah, no, they're absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what they thought they were doing. There are people who've actually sacrificed, gone into space, and paved the way. And then you have these women go up there who did the absolute bare minimum. They literally did nothing except they probably spent more time getting fitted for these suits. I'm going to be so honest with you. Getting these suits perfectly tailored. They probably spent more time doing that, picking out their heels and their boots and the earrings they were going to wear to space than actually doing this training. I don't know what training they did except, strap themselves in.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take Melania Trump. We'll take Melania Trump over this any day, and people like Riley Gaines and people that actually like took a stand for something, did something.
Right.
Yeah. The most expensive selfies. Again, I love
it's like all these women are about feminism and protecting women, and we're this all women, all female space crew. None of these women have the balls to stand up for women's sports, women's locker rooms, women's spaces. Katy Perry, Gayle King, none of these people would come forward and actually speak up to protect women, but yet they'll go to space and do like cartwheels through this vessel for 5 minutes to make a social statement. So absolute fools and buffoons and a total calamity.
All right, well, when Dr. Evil is paying the bills, you just do what he said. Link, you got a brand new show with Spot on, is that right? Yes.
Yes, spot on with Link Lauren, May
Yep.
12th. I'm super excited and grateful to Megan. I'm grateful to you, Benny, for having me on. Everyone says you need to get together with Benny Johnson and do something. I think I said I might be a little too much for his audience, but thank you for having me.
Link, we will bring you on next time that sadly the Rockets return, filled with celebrities and feminists and journalists and girl bosses. Follow Link right here, and Godspeed.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Bless you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, there's somebody who I probably we've never done a segue like this, from celebrity culture commentary to the darkness of the deep state and the corruption therein that is about to be exposed. But why the hell not? I mean, it really is all blending together at this point, and there's a man who sat with me at UFC over the weekend. His name is Mike Benz. You, of course, know him. And he's got a lot to say on some new declassification objectives for the Director of National Intelligence, who was right in front of us. Let's hear what Mike Benz has to say and how we can keep those rockets in space. Mike, I got to begin by saying, didn't have you on to talk Katy Perry. If you're into that, then just let me know offline, right? We can book you for the next one. I had you on to talk about somebody who's actually a true hero and who should be a feminist icon, which is Tulsi Gabbard, and Tulsi Gabbard's new Director of National Intelligence declassification objectives.
I thought you were talking about me with feminist icon for a second there.
Well, listen, I know your dating history. The reality is that you sat not too far away from Tulsi Gabbard. Did you get a chance to talk with her about this? What would you tell her? These are some pretty massive objectives, and she made huge news at that presidential roundtable just a couple of days ago, talking about her D-class objectives. The floor is yours.
Well, the Director of National Intelligence has an incredible opportunity to do something that our country has really never done before. You could argue maybe one time during the Church Committee, when there was a cleanup of the CIA as it was billed, although a lot of people see it as a whitewash. There are many documents from the Church Committee that are still classified to this day. That was in 1975 and 1976, after the Democrat Party was targeted by the intelligence state, and in particular the anti-war section of the Democrat Party. And that was playing out in the midst of the Cold War. And so much of what was done against the Democrats in the 1960s and 70s was because of a Republican-held executive branch that saw aspects of the Democrats as being part of communism. And I know.
Were they wrong, Mike?
We'll leave that issue aside, because the issue today is the universal thump was passed around, and I believe that we have been living in an undeclared second Cold War. Not so much in the just against Russia side of a second Cold War, because obviously it's very easy on the face of open source reporting to see the second Cold War that we've had against Russia since the 2014 Crimea vote. But what I mean by a second Cold War and how it domestically targets Americans is there has been a global war on populism in the same way that there was a global war on communism. But the difference is at least as the history books tell it, I was only alive for the tail end of the Cold War, but it was well and truly known that there was a scourge to stamp out communism during the Cold War. To this day, if you want to enter the United States of America get a green card, you need to sign a document that says that you're not a communist or have never been a part of a communist organization. That's in 2025. You don't have to do that with saying that you are a populist. And that, I believe, is a layer at the intelligence level that is inaccessible to the rank and file American people, but that is a linchpin part of the declassifications and how to understand the sorts of things for Odie and I to look for, because they said communism was a threat to democracy because it usurps the will of the people. It imposes government controls over everything from the media to the means of production to wealth and economic redistribution. But they said populism was a threat to democracy because it, quote, weakens democratic institutions. Democratic institutions mean basically anyone that the foreign policy establishment supports, whether that's in media. They call the news media a democratic institution. They don't call the Benny Johnson show an institution. They'll call the New York Times an institution. They'll call the universities an institution. They'll call Harvard an institution. They won't call something like Liberty University an institution. But the point is any act of the people that undermines elements of their control is categorized as a threat to democracy and treated and subjected to the same apparatus that we constructed during the war on communism. And I believe the story can really only be fully told through declassifications and hearings on that are similar to the Church Committee hearing. And that framework for understanding nationalism and populism, as opposed to socialism and communism in the 1960s and 70s, has to run through every element of control by the IC that was weaponized at home. And there's so many categories of that in terms of what to get into, but that's sort of the main thrust.
So you're saying that they are turning the weapons of war on the MAGA movement and the populist movement. They see us as antithetical to what's going on in this country and dangerous, as they did to Marxism back in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s.
Well, it's bigger than just in this country. Yes, I definitely what you're saying. But the way that they'll get away with it is by conflating it with populism abroad, because the CIA points outward, state points outward, USAID points outward. So they'll say populism is rising in Brazil, but Bolsonaro is the Trump of the tropics. And there's an international movement to exchange ideas between Trumpism and Bolsonaroism. They'll say Marine Le Pen is a threat to democracy in France, and then they'll go after Jack Posobiec, as the Atlantic Council did, for sharing WikiLeaks articles or WikiLeaks cables about that embarrass Emmanuel Macron. They'll say the AfD party is is a threat to democracy in Germany, a populist threat to democracy in Germany, and that anyone in the U.S. who hosts them or associates them or supports them is therefore aiding and abetting effectively an enemy of democracy. They'll do the same thing in Spain with the Vox Party, the same thing in the UK with the Nigel Farage, the same thing in Italy with Matteo Salvini and whatnot. And this has been, I think, one of the things that shocked the American people about the past 10 years is that they were not informed that this was the nature of how they were being pursued. But I've spent enough time listening to the intelligence world talk to itself, just on the outside where we can hear them, to believe that this was operationalized in a formal way, that you are going to find hundreds, thousands of documents with these playbooks, with hard operation names that cover every aspect of society that touches the intelligence world, and that is every aspect of society. I believe you're going to see this in the news industry. I believe you're going to see this in the universities. I believe you're going to see this in the unions. I believe you're going to see this in public health. I believe you're going to see this in the energy industry. What I'm trying to say is there is no aspect of human life here in America that is untouched by an undeclared Second Cold War.
And the declaration of war against populism is worth just going and like committing murder. Like, that's totally fine. Ryan Ralph is on trial today. I'm sure you're following this. It was the biggest bombshell I've seen in a very long time, that he was openly coordinating with the Ukrainians to try and get RPGs to shoot Trump's plane out of the sky, or to shoot an RPG at Trump, to shoot a Stinger missile at Trump on a golf course. How the hell is the Secret Service going to stop that exactly? In Trump Force One, the plane that he flew on as a private citizen, that does not get like military attaché escorts, and does not have the same type of tech that Air Force One has. So acquiring these kind of weapons, we've had experts on, Mike. Like you guarantee, you all but guarantee that plane's going to like get shot out of the sky. Ryan Ralph, we've learned in these horrifying releases, was staking out Palm Beach Airport, was learning the flight patterns for Trump's plane. Last time we landed at Mar-a-Lago, and I'm sure you've seen the same thing, Trump's plane's there, but it's surrounded by dump trucks. There's like a physical armored barrier around President Trump's plane, his private plane, because of this threat. And now it's finally clicked. We saw that right after the election, and now we kind of understand it more.
Right. And even just reading what you have highlighted here, Trump is not good for Ukraine.
Yeah.
I need equipment so Trump cannot get elected. Do you think Trump will be good for Ukraine? Hey, buddy, we're voting for whether he's good for America. I mean, this is another thing, right? It's
like
assassinating him because he's not good for a foreign country.
We've had a couple of experts, including Mike Flynn on yesterday, who said there's no way the Ukrainians didn't know. And this is my question to you, and I'm sorry for the long question here. But my question to you is this. If the NSA can hack Tucker Carlson's signal, and they probably did that like with a click of a button because they built it. If the NSA can, because Tucker is chatting with a Russian, trying to get an interview, they're able to gather all of the information on all of Tucker's devices and everything he's ever said. Do you believe that somebody in our intelligence services knew that this assassination was inbound for President Trump? Do you think that somebody in Ukraine knew that this assassination was inbound? Do you think Ukraine alerted America to this?
I think it's highly possible. The fact is Ryan Routh, as you and I have gone over many, many hours worth of content on this topic, was doing work that's typically done by the intelligence world. He was recruiting terrorists and violent extremists and paramilitaries from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Syria, and Iran, which are all 4 war-torn conflict zone countries that the CIA is highly, highly invested in and has billions of dollars of active operations. In Syria alone, Operation Timber Sycamore was the largest CIA operation in U.S. history. And he's recruiting those exact folks that the CIA was building up a paramilitary network and working simultaneously on the back end to get them visas from the U.S. Embassy in Kiev to kill Russians in Ukraine, and bringing them to this 501c3 network that was called the Volunteer Center of Ukraine, which got its 501c3 through another NGO called Mother of Ukraine. Ryan Routh presented at the airport in June 2023 that he was the director of this nonprofit. The story did not pass water with Customs and Border Patrol. And in June 2023, 1 year before the attempted assassination, Customs and Border Patrol passed on Ryan Routh's information to Mayorkas, the head of DHS, to HSI, the Homeland Security Investigations, and said, you need to look into this guy. Something isn't right. And the response that that Customs and Border Patrol said was that they refused to investigate. That was the direct phrase. They refused to investigate, which to me is bigger than declined to investigate. Refused insists that they were urged to, and still did not. So Routh was surely on their radar from the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, was surely on their radar from the CIA in Afghanistan and Syria and Pakistan, was surely on the radar of special forces, given that he was recruiting from the very troops that the Pentagon special forces were training. And he was surely on the radar of DHS because he was referred specifically to DHS for investigation in their top investigatory unit. So, yes, I believe it's highly likely that they knew that Ryan Routh had this plan and that they simply let it happen.
So you wanted to come on and talk about Tulsi ODNI declassification. Tulsi Gabbard sits above all intel agencies. We have these attacks that happen where you find everything out about the attacker if it's on brand, right? Like, okay, the guy that burned down Josh Shapiro's house. We see all of his social media. We can get all of his comments. We hear all these stories about who he was and what he did. We know effing nothing about Matthew Thomas Crooks, the guy who changed the course of civilization. Whether Trump survived or whether he died, Matthew Thomas Crooks is the single most important and critical assassin of our lifetimes. We know nothing. We know that he was on the phone. We know he was FaceTiming somebody before he shot the gun, but we know nothing. Like, how incumbent is it upon Tulsi Gabbard to release this information, to get this out to the American people? Because clearly there's more to this story.
Well, it's an interesting question. I actually don't know what authorities ODNI has specifically around the Justice Department. Whether something is, a lot of the ways that this stuff gets buried, and it's, this has been a tactic of the national security state to bury things for decades and decades, whether that was Iran-Contra in the 1980s, the first World Trade Center attack in 1993, Ruby Ridge, Waco, the Oklahoma City bombing, 9/11, countless of these attacks. What they do is they say there's an ongoing investigation, and in the process of this ongoing investigation, nothing can be released to the public because it would jeopardize the investigation. It would tip people off. It would tip off the suspects. It would prejudice the judge or jury or whatever justification this is why they were told we were never allowed to know how many informants and agents were in the crowd. For example, on January 6th, it was always an ongoing investigation. So I don't know at the ODNI level how much of their declassification power is relegated to the CIA, Pentagon, State Department, USAID, whoever the originating agency is for a classified document, versus the Justice Department and its ongoing investigations, which can stretch for years and years and years. So I actually don't know how much power the ODNI has over being able to bring declassification around the Thomas Crooks and Ryan Routh cases.
Clearly somebody knows. And I think it's like the biggest question. So there's a terrorist attack on New Year's Day. Some guy joined ISIS in the army, and they're like letting the media, letting reporters wander through the guy's house, film everything. Oh, he filmed his Quran. Here's his Quran. Here's all of his bomb making materials, right?
Right.
Yeah, we know nothing we know nothing about these two assassins.
Well, that is a good point, actually, on the Ryan Routh side of it, because with Crooks, you have the case of, lone gunman nut type thing, but it's purely domestic. I mean, that's how they bill it, is what I'm saying, right? And now, of course, there are the international connections with Matthew Crooks in the sense that he somehow had, I think, 3 different apps on his phone that were encrypted and had these foreign country connections like Germany and Brussels and
Belgium and New Zealand.
Of course, he was and he was at the firing range that was used by HSI, the same Homeland Security Investigations group that had informants on and agents on the ground at January 6th and recruiting agents there. The famous case of Jeremy Brown in January 6th, 2 HSI agents recruited him to rat on the Oath Keepers and recruit feds. They then turn up in the Matthew Crooks assassination with sharing the same gun range that he trained to assassinate President Trump. I mean, there's an open question for Kristi Noem, by the way, and to the extent it's classified to the ODNI. But
we asked Mike. We asked. I remember texting you about this. You were like, ask her about ask her about Homeland Security. We asked, man. That it's funny. She was very open about everything we asked her when we did our interview with her. We did like a 20-minute interview with her on the deck of a naval ship in New York Harbor. And dude, like, there was one thing that seemed very clammy, right? There's one thing that was like very close, close to the chest, and that was it. That was the question. The question was like, When the hell are we going to learn about like these assassins? What was going on here exactly?
And
like, it's an ongoing investigation. Ongoing investigation. Ongoing investigation.
Well, the nice thing is with the trials happening, I sense that once the trial concludes, there's going to need to be, you should no longer be able to hide behind an ongoing investigation. But
there's no trial for Matthew Thomas Crooks. What trial is there? You're dead.
Well, I mean, I was talking about the Ryan Routh one, but I think your point stands, which is that we do need a kind of post-game summary for these sorts of things. There's a press secretary when it comes to everything the State Department does. Someone stands in front of the press and answers questions. There's a press secretary for the Pentagon who stands in front of the press and answers questions. And, the FBI is where evidence goes to die. I say this many times. And part of that is because they collect all the originals of all the videos. They collect all of the originals of all the physical evidence. And then it sits and dies in a vault. It previously, before the FBI takes possession of Crooks's phones, Crooks's home computers, Crooks's diaries and possessions, the video cameras of everywhere Crooks went, it belonged to their owners. And if not for the FBI, the owners could get together and tell that story publicly. But when it's all effectively stolen and then vaulted for eternity by the Federal Bureau of Investigations, you've actually robbed the American people of putting together an investigation that they could have done without the FBI. And this is one of the things that has allowed them to get away with cover-ups and false flags for so long. And I don't know what Cash's view is on this, or Dan Bongino's, or Pam Bondi's. But getting back to what the ODNI can do is, on the Ryan Routh story, given that those NGOs play a critical role in intelligence, and we have the name of several of those NGOs that Ryan Routh was involved in, those NGOs were also covered by Voice of America and other U.S.-sponsored media that works with the intelligence community. I agree with you that I think keyword searches should be run for Routh's name as an individual, for the NGOs that he worked with, and for effectively all of the keywords associated with the would-be assassins' activity in Ukraine, Pakistan, Syria, Afghanistan. We have the names of so many people that he networked with, not thanks to the FBI or DOJ, but thanks to intrepid researchers who managed to swipe the social media information prior to it being purged from the internet. And if those keyword searches can be run into a CIA database, into a Special Forces or Pentagon database, just you'll probably need to look for this agency by agency. But the fact is I would be very curious to see if there were intelligence analyst memos that mention Routh's activity trail, and if there were, I doubt they'd be admissible into evidence at trial, because this is the same way we did after the assassination of the president of Haiti. The defense counsel was not even allowed to access documents about his own client's involvement with the intelligence community, because the CIA stepped in and said, if this information is classified, it would undermine U.S. national security if we had to share it beyond the walls of the agency. And I believe something similar is likely the case in the Ryan Routh situation, and it's worth investigation.
Mike, we have to get to this photo here in the evidence locker, because this is something that was just revealed at the trial for Ryan Routh this morning. Something that we didn't know, my producers are telling me, about the bombs, the homemade bombs that Ryan Routh was making. Apparently, this is something that was not part of like the zeitgeist. This is not something that anybody heard about. Ryan Routh was attempting to create a phalanx of pipe bombs and canister bombs. As you can see here, was used in Butler, as you know, was used in January 6th. And it seems like this, they're like, you don't often talk about the same bag of dirty tricks. And these dirty tricks seem to connect these issues all together. And maybe it's just happenstance, but how are these people with no military background or training able to create these bombs? and these pipe bombs. And by the way, if you want to ever get flagged and you want to ever lose your free life, like start searching. You can't just go openly search these things.
Right. If you run a Google search,
right?
If you run a Google search,
yeah, this is the end of. Don't do it. Right. It's the end of your life.
I don't even want to say the phrase "how to make a blank blank" because
that's exactly right.
It will go into YouTube backend speech to text transliteration, and then the video itself, could end up, being flagged for various reasons.
So thank you, Mike. So the blank, right? So this is a tie that now connects all of them. That they were all like that from J6.
The Whitmer Fed napping, if you remember,
Fed napping.
What were they charged with? They were charged
First World Trade Center, right? Like First World
Trade Center, 1993. And there was a case in 2017 where they went after another group of the 3%ers with making pipe bombs. They taught them the FBI taught this kid how to make a pipe bomb. Kid didn't want to at first. They pressured him into it. And then the way they arrested him is one of the agents took him for a long car ride and then handed him a remote and said, if you press this button, it'll detonate the pipe bomb. And the kid presses the button. Nothing happens because it was a dud device, just like it was a dud device with Whitmer Fed napping. It was a dud device with January 6th, the pipe bomber situation there. But the point is they got the guy to believe that he was making an effective pipe bomb, and then once he attempted to activate it, they got him, on the intent to use it. So 20 years. This is a famous 2017 case. But if you remember, in the Whitmer Fed napping case in October 2020, they taught the entire crew how to make pipe bombs. They had federal agents, an actual agent, not just an informant, an agent actually come to their barbecue and picnic and field training exercises just to teach them how to make pipe bombs so they could arrest them for making pipe bombs. They then got them, finally, they made the arrest at what they were told was the point of sale for the pipe bomb making materials. After they taught them firsthand how to make pipe bombs, they then set up a sale to sell them pipe bomb parts. Now, what's so, of course, ironic about that is the people didn't even have the money to buy the pipe bomb parts when they showed up for a meeting that it was suggested that they could purchase those parts. So they nailed them for making pipe bombs because they had taught them to make pipe bombs without them even really agreeing to even make the pipe bomb parts. But that's exactly your point, which is that unless you are in the military and you are in an explosive ordnance division, you don't know how to make a pipe bomb. It's there's not library books sitting around your high school or public library about anarchist cookbook type books that are well known, as you said, to get you flagged. Somebody's got to teach you how to do it, and it seems like 99 out of 98 times that person's a Fed.
There's truly a connection. Like it's almost like a fingerprint. It's like a DNA connection between
signature.
Yes, that's right.
It's like a crook leaving a signature on that.
Yes. The topic of today's show, and Mike, I know that we're tight on time, but I just want to cover this. I just want to get your thoughts on this. The topic of today's show, since it's tax day, is the illegal laundering of money through NGOs back into the pockets of American politicians. This is something that's been teased as a massive DOGE finding. Elon Musk has been laying very much a breadcrumb trail, putting the jigsaw pieces together. He's talked about this with regularity and about how they're working on something that President Trump and Karoline Leavitt have both called a horrifying finding at DOGE. Tim Burchett says that members of Congress will have to resign after these findings have been made public. How could this theoretically work and we saw a story break this morning about dark foreign money being laundered through to left-wing causes for ballot initiatives. That's like maybe the first little break in the dam. How does that operation work that Elon is teasing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if he's teasing it, it could be any number of things. I mean, when you use the phrase money laundering, I can think of 10,000 permutations of whether that's going to be foreign influence, whether that's going to be diverting funds from a 501c3 that are not really tax deductible, whether that is running things through offshore banks, whether that is holding assets not in your own name in order to evade financial disclosures, because that's a big part of being in government. Is you have to submit all sorts of financial disclosure forms so that ethics committees and various other responsibilities that you have are not, you don't have a conflict of interest, and that the American people sort of have a right to know that sort of thing. So any attempt to conceal an illicit source of funds is money laundering, and any attempt to not report the assets that you have is a violation of the financial disclosure laws. With Elon, and you never quite know what you're going to get on these things. He's talked about Social Security fraud, Medicare fraud. He seems to have a keen interest in the Pelosi tracker type, stock trading. The sort of insider trading scandals of the Pelosi set with how they effectively get to bet on the stock market before, with bills that the American people are not even apprised of, so they know what's going to happen to a particular industry long before the general public. It could be any one of those things, or it could be something completely unrelated. I'm in particular curious about these magic money machines, and and who runs the magic money machines. I mean, that was like a story for a day. And it seemed very interesting that there are 11 computers, evidently, that make every payment in the U.S. government, and some of them appear to run on their own or have very little oversight. Or I was curious about that, and there's one in certain high-level agencies, like there's one in the State Department, there's 3 in the Pentagon. I was curious about that, but no. Well, this is one of the nice things about having an aggressive DOGE body, which I'm very sad that we're going to be losing in a couple months here, because it seems to be the one agency in the federal government that's completely doing its job. But it's it's fun to have a dog. The dogs are full of surprises.
It's you work in the federal government. You never ran into a magic money machine?
I was going to the vending machine once, and I saw what looked to be a magic money machine right next to it, but I didn't appreciate its significance. I should have put $1 in and seen if 10,000 came out.
Yeah, I mean, the operation allegedly is like USAID payments go out and then come back in the form of pocket donations through a series of dark NGOs to the Democrats who voted for the USAID funding. So this is what Elon is sort of like sussing out there. So I hope the work of DOGE is continued as long as humanly possible. I hope it doesn't go away with their deadline, right, for DOGE. It's like
me too.
Clearly more work to do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow the man who's doing the greatest work out there when it comes to exposing so much of the darkness in the world, then join Mike and his sunrise photos, I guess, that he's taken from a dock somewhere. And on his X, he's got 1 million subs on X, and he will give you the truth, and he will give it to you in long-form formats that cannot be ignored and are followed by some of the most powerful and prominent people on Earth. Mike, it's always an honor to have you on the program. There are 20 different things I wanted to ask you, but just really quickly, could you sum up how the CIA launders drugs? I'm just kidding. I'm joking, Mike. I'm kidding. That answer is a thing.
I was going to.
That answer is a thing of legend around here.
Listen, Benny,
the first 30-minute answer on the show. It was great.
I've been told by credible sources that the CIA has investigated itself for the crack trade and found that it did nothing wrong.
Oh man, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about the 9/11 stuff, man. It's not what you wanted to talk about here, but Tucker's mainlining
that was wild. That was a wild,
yeah,
very brave.
Tucker's mainlining that, and that I think is going to be like a much larger national conversation about.
Well,
wow,
you know
why
what?
did John Brennan let all the attackers in? Why did John Brennan sign off on all the attackers coming here?
Right. Yeah. One more thing for ODNI.
Yeah, that's right. What? Okay, what is the first file? You want to see the file on MAGA being treated as the cold like the new Cold War apparatus against MAGA? That's your first declassification that you want to see from Tulsi?
Well, that's the one that is the no-brainer. Nobody is talking about in specifics and with a hard framework. Like the JFK files, RFK files, MLK files, 9/11 files, you name it, all of that stuff is super, super important. And believe me, there are a few people who've, taken a deep dive into all those topics, as I and of course, any serious student of those things has, but I could see you running into resistance across the IC when it looks like the U.S. government knew about that, or had or could have stopped it but allowed it to happen. There's the made it happen, let it happen debate type.
With September 11th?
September 11th, and also JFK, RFK. But there should be no controversy whatsoever about that second Cold War on populism type thing. And it's very active in terms of how it impacts U.S. policy today. And so that, to me, would be the first order of business. But I totally agree. And I think that the Tucker interview there made a lot of important points.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I have a feeling we're not done with John Brennan just yet, Am I right? He's the one who rubber stamped. He's the one who let all the attackers in. Am I wrong about that?
Well, yeah, that was the CIA station house in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, where 15 of the 19 passports were issued. And it's so funny, Benny, now that we're just to, I guess, wrap it up, but just one last point here.
Yeah.
We talked about this. Do you remember we did a Benny's Brews on this, and there was we talked about the Saudi Arabia CIA station where 15 of the 19 hijackers got their visas, and John Brennan had been the CIA station chief in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And I mentioned that J. Michael Sprengman, who was running the State Department consulate issuing the visas, and he was the top visa chief, that he wrote in his book that 75% of the people in the visa office, in the consulate, were saying that they were the State Department, but they were actually secretly working for the CIA. 75%. And if you remember, that seemed like a really shocking thing. And then it came out in the JFK files that 80% of the political staff in France and 70% of the political staff, in all these different countries, Cambodia, Laos, Frankfurt or Berlin, that they were all approximately that same range, and that 48% of all the political staff across the State Department were CIA worldwide. And so in conflict zones, that number is higher. And so that was in the 1960s when, 1961 is when that memo was about the 75% in France. And flash forward 30 years later, it was still 75% of them were CIA at the State Department in Saudi Arabia at that time. But yeah, that's one more mystery that only someone inside the Office of the Director of National Intelligence can solve for the American people.
Yeah, that Tucker interview with the congressman who's railroaded for questioning the official narrative on 9/11, man. It's like the JFK assassination all over again. And it's like, but I can't believe it's happening in real time. And we might be able to have this national conversation about September 11th and what the government did and how the government operated.
Yeah, it'll be delicate. That's a doozy. That's a big one.
All right. Well, Mike, come back on for that conversation. 9/11
in due time.
Here we go. All right. So here's again Mike Benz. Should follow both of them, to be honest with you. But Mike Benz, ladies and gentlemen, Godspeed, man, and glad to do these interviews before you get pulled into the administration. I have a sinking suspicion that you're going to be the guy doing the declassification at ODNI.
We'll see what the crystal ball says. All right.
See you, buddy. Classic fake out close, right? Where I closed it, and then I'm thinking, well, Mike Benz probably has something to say on September 11th, and throw the softball. Why not? Let it go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are making an executive decision because there's going to be a press conference in 10 minutes. Karoline Leavitt at the dais. Why not? Just roll through. We have a bunch of breaking news to talk about. Just let her rip, okay? Including breaking news that ties directly into what we just talked about with Ryan Routh. Ryan Routh is on trial today in the state of Florida. There's breaking news out from this trial, and it has to do with Ryan Routh trying to get armaments from Ukraine to kill President Trump. You want to know why President Trump treats Zelensky the way that he does? It's probably because he knows. He knows. He knows. They knew about a potential assassination, and they didn't do anything about it. Who knows? I mean, I only know publicly available information, but sure would be nice to get the full story here. Maybe we'll get it in a trial. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the breaking news out of that trial happening now.
Underway. Fox News alert: a court hearing about to get underway for the man accused of trying to assassinate President Trump at his West Palm Beach golf course last October. Dana Marie McNichol is live from Fort Pierce, Florida, with much more. Hi, Dana Marie.
Hi, Dana. Good morning. Today's hearing will most likely focus on the gun found at the scene. Ruth's attorneys, they're hoping this could prove his innocence, while prosecutors are laying out new information to show Ruth's intent to kill President Trump. Now, in court documents, the government laid out a long list of evidence they want admitted into the trial. This includes encrypted messages that shows Ruth allegedly tried to purchase a rocket-propelled grenade or an anti-aircraft missile from an associate he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. Now, Ruth allegedly asked this associate to, quote, send me an RPG or Stinger, and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine, end quote. The government argues Ruth signaled his intent to kill President Trump when he wrote, quote, I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected. Now, DOJ lawyers also allege Ruth attempted unsuccessfully on multiple occasions to purchase a military-grade .50 caliber rifle. And the motion also outlined Ruth's communication with a human smuggler in Mexico regarding an escape plan. Now, Ruth's attorney on the other side, they're asking for access to the gun found outside the golf course to be live test fired. They want an expert to examine and test fire the weapon to see if it would have worked and fired at Trump that day. The defense is also seeking to dismiss 2 of the 5 total charges against their client relating to firearm possessions, citing Second Amendment rights. They had a lot to get to today. Ruth has pleaded not guilty to 5 federal charges, but now he faces state charges. Last week, the state of Florida announced that they will be charging him with attempted murder and terrorism.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, seems like we have ourselves a live fish on the line. Reel them in. This is going to be very exciting. I very much look forward to this trial. We may have to go, Klein. Go to the courthouse. We may have to go. There's going to be people standing outside. There's going to be like lots of conversation to be had. It's happening like not terribly far away from here. This is a trial we're going to be locked in for. I'm ravenous to get the answers here because I read the chat. We are in the chat. We read your comments. We love your comments on this program. It's 10, 15-ish minutes before Karoline Leavitt up on the press dais. We will be covering that live. You never really know. But we might as well, ladies and gentlemen, do something we're going to do a lot more on this program. We've even made a fancy new stinger for it called In the Chat. We're going to do that in just one moment. But first, this is hour 2 of our broadcast. I've got to let you know we can't do these kind of shows and do that kind of breaking news without our friends at Patriot Mobile. So please lock in, stay tuned. We are rolling right into the White House press secretary's briefing. Patriot Mobile helps us stay connected, like we are connected today, and like we are connected to the chat. Again, I have the chat flowing and rolling. There's the chat. I have like flowing and rolling in front of me at all times. I have it over here too. It's freaking awesome. Okay, we're sitting here reading comments. We're going to do this a lot more on the program. We care about these topics because we are connected to you. We ask these questions. We're the only people who ask the questions. Dude, Klein, we probably were the biggest pain in the ass because we went and interviewed Pam Bondi like a day after she was signed into office, and I go, so where's the Epstein list? That started the whole ball rolling. Okay, luckily we weren't handed a binder at that moment. I say my prayers. I'm very thankful for that every day of my life. But I'll tell you this. We get locked in because we know you. We're able to see you and get connected with this audience. We're a living, breathing thing, right? And together we can go change the country. And Patriot Mobile helps us stay locked in. They are the #1 service provider all throughout the country. We travel all over to these places. They are always keeping us online, keeping us locked in with you. Go right now to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT to get a free month of service with promo code Benny. Patriot Mobile is the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the country. Make the switch today. Defend freedom with every single call or text that you make. patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. For the first time ever, In the Chat. We're going to be in the chat. Let's go. All right. Who's first? Let's rock and roll. The chats. Good morning, Patriots, from the They Love Charlie. Good morning, Patriots. I'm only saying it once today. Benny covering it. Say his name, Austin Metcalf. Ready. We did cover Austin Metcalf, and we did talk about this today, and we're going to talk about it with absolute honesty about the rate of crime in this country, the extreme outsized portion of crime that is committed by a subsection of the population that is not a large portion of the population, young black males. All of the data plays out that population is orders of magnitude more violent than any other subsect in the entire country. There's not even a close second. What's happening there? Can we please have this conversation? Don't you want to live in a peaceful and safe society? We need to have that conversation. Austin Metcalf, asking a question, shouldn't be a death sentence. It's something that we talked about yesterday, and with Dr. Carol Swain. So we're going to keep asking those questions, and we ask those questions because we do. We are in the chat, and we do read the comments here. Foreign money is bad unless it's for Israel. Got it. I said this before. I said this on the PBD podcast. I don't understand. I don't understand the foreign. I was amazed that Israel had tariffs on American products. First off, I was like, you must be joking here. Oh, we got the press desk. Can you pop that up? Just to show you guys that we're close to being live here with Karoline Leavitt. We got people doing mic checks at the press dais. Here is the live shot. We're just going to roll the show straight through. I'm against foreign aid. I'm waiting for somebody to sit and explain, and not to all countries. I'm waiting for somebody to explain to me how that fills potholes on my street, how that protects my nation. I don't get it. What's the argument here? That Russia's going to go pay off every country? That every country is fake and stupid and can't exist without them robbing my pockets like they did today on tax day and forking it over to third world dictatorships that freaking hate us, that are non-functional, just like corruption machines? No, man, no. They can't be like that. I get that was the world order that was established after World War II. We do not need to live by those confines. It's time to demolish them and make something new. So yeah, I'm against this lavish foreign aid to people who love us, and also to generally people who hate us, actually. Benny, have you asked your wife if you snore? Do you snore? I hope you snore. I don't understand this, but I can tell you, I will answer honestly. I don't know if this is a joke, but I'll answer honestly. I don't think I snore. I don't have breathing problems. I do cardio every once in a while. I don't think I snore. So there you go. If that is what it is on the top of your mind at 11:31 a.m., then you know what? There's the honest answer. I don't think I'm a big snorer. You know, one of the easiest way, like where snoring comes from, is one of the easiest ways, like not snorers, to have clean air passages, to be able to breathe, and to like getting workouts, like being in shape. It's actually one of those things that like leads to clean breathing, right, overnight. In the spirit of Resurrection Day, my mother's requests are arrests. Okay. I love that. All right. My Easter message to you is please let there be arrests. I couldn't agree with you more, actually. The story of Easter does have to do with arresting criminals that deserved punishment, and also the perfect Son of God who did not deserve punishment, and his resurrection. I'm so happy that she is embraced this week as the Christian that she is. Good. It's beautiful. Let's freaking go. Just want to say, keep up the great work, Benny. We got your back. Well, thank you. We got your back, too. Thank you, Matthew. We do everything that we can to, like, you know, let her rip on this channel, and we work extremely hard, and we try our very hardest. They have a couple of, like, fun projects that we're doing, but we're going to, like, try our hardest to use the value of this audience and, like, the size of the audience to really do some good in the world. So stay tuned. We got a lot cooking here. It takes time to build these things, but we're really proud of what's going on over here. We're doing it obviously from the ground up, never taking a penny, never taking any outside funding or anything like that. It's literally a small business that we're building shingle by shingle. So we thank you. Here we go. In an effort to again try and make Elon less of a genius, visionary that he is, like this is not a big deal. I can do it too. Sick people. I have a feeling, Christian Osborne, this is potentially about the Blue Origin rocket launch. And yes, you're exactly right. This is exactly what they're trying to say here. That Katy Perry can do it, right? Okay. What a joke, man. Also, if you're like a woman, if you're like a big-time feminist, you should not you should not be proud of this. This should not be something that's perfect. Yes, exactly. Like getting launched into space by Dr. Evil in a rocket, like funded and built by a man, piloted by a man. That looks exactly like, I mean, it's uncanny, actually. It's remarkable. Look at that. It's the Austin Powers version. The logos on the lady's suit looks sus. Peanut the butter. I think I know what you're talking about here. You're talking about the satanic imagery on the suits. Maybe we could grab that, and I'll just leave it up to you to decide, right? Is there, like, satanic imagery on these spacesuits? Klein, this might be something that we need to, like, jump in, like, a producer's going to have to grab this, because this is, like, something very subtle I saw in my timeline. There's satanic imagery on the actual spacesuits. That's what people are saying. Not exactly sure, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. So this is called a Baphomet. It is the goat, the half hermaphroditical goat head emblem of Satanism. And people are saying that it is similar to the Blue Origin logos. There's some people who see this kind of like imagery everywhere that they look, right? So I don't know. I'm not sure. But it, certainly has like kind of a goat skull look to it, doesn't it? What is that supposed to be? Supposed to be like a cow skull or something? It's passing. You know what I mean? It's passing, right? It's passing. There's some stuff that's just cuckoo pants, like crackpot stuff. Okay, that's not it. That looks very that looks fascinating. And then there's something very, something particularly interesting to me about this is that as soon as Katy Perry comes back down, she's like, I was connected with the feminine God. Well, all right. You're misgendering God in your terminology. In my terminology, that's blasphemy, right? It's blasphemous to do that. God's not a woman. Read the scriptures. It said, made Adam in the image of God. So, I don't, cry about it. Cry about it. So I don't, is it the image upside down? Okay, so here's the image. Here's the close-up of the image. If you care about this kind of stuff, I think it's always interesting. There's plenty of iconography on these things. This stuff does happen. This stuff does happen. I don't know. ALX might nuke this idea. There was this moment in the Super Bowl a year ago where there was straight up satanic imagery going on right next to Taylor Swift. It does happen. Okay? To say that this is all crackpot stuff, like if you're a Satanist, you have to, get the symbols out there. You have to tell everyone, right, who you are and that you're part of this cult. Pride. Satan is very prideful. Pride comes before destruction. They have to project it out there. And there's this. Maybe we can do this clip. So there's a singer that was sitting next to Taylor Swift. They knew she'd be on national television. And she literally does the satanic symbols, and she's wearing an upside down cross, okay? She's wearing an upside down cross. I have St. Michael right here, and then I have the names of my children on the back of that, so that's what I wear. So what's going on? I don't know. I'm telling you that it happened. I don't know if you like it or not. You shouldn't. But this does happen at scale, so I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. I'm not sure. We all want to see these arrests, but realistically, how long does it take to build a case? Love the show. Any meetups planned? Says Florida, Floriginal. Yes, we're going to do meetups with Byron Donalds' campaign. I endorse Byron Donalds. I like Byron Donalds. He's my homie. And we're going to do meetups at big rallies with Byron. So that's what I plan on doing. Some cool, big events at colleges and stuff all throughout Florida. I've always wanted to do a meetup here in Tampa. So I'd like to set that up. And we film Benny on the Block all the time on the street. How long does it take to build a case? Well, we talked with Kash Patel, didn't we, Klein? We spoke with Kash Patel this week, and you're not going to like the answer. We can show you the photo of me grinning with Kash Patel. And a bunch of people in the comments, right, saying, where's the arrest? Maybe we can grab the tweet, and it's up on the X account. Where's the arrest? And here's what Kash told us, because I knew that was what was going to be the comment, and quite frankly, I agree with you, right? Kash says in order to build a case and do it correctly, we're going to have something that is bulletproof. We're going to have something that really hits, where the right people go to prison and don't skate. And we're going to have to get it right. And that stuff takes time, especially when these people have had unified control of the federal government to do anything they want for the last 50 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, I get it. I understand your frustrations. I asked. That was my question to Kash. Arrests, documents. Let's go. Here's the press dais. It looks like they're getting very close. Everyone's sat down, and the staffers are jumping out now. Give me that Karoline Leavitt prayer clip. I think we might have time to do it. It's a pretty short clip. The Karoline Leavitt, it's in the shorts chat, Danny. Karoline Leavitt praying. I want to show you what Karoline Leavitt is doing right now. It's really cool. I want to show you what they're doing. If you let me know when we got it. How is it that Killer Carmelo, which is what we call him, can raise $400,000 in a couple days, yet MAGA disabled, recently widowed, 56-year-old woman can't raise 60? Something is wrong here. Got it? Laguna Berry, yeah, you're exactly right. There's cultural brokenness, and we're doing our very best to fix it. We're going to be launching something here ourselves soon. We'll be launching something ourselves that'll be its own charity. So hopefully we'll be able to fix that and help help Americans who deserve it, not murderers. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is what Karoline Leavitt is doing right now. Let's go.
Lord Jesus, please give us the strength the knowledge, the ability to articulate our words, have fun, and be confident in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay.
And then out into the Eye of Mordor. Right? Like, you wonder why Karoline Leavitt is able to walk out acting like, like she's bulletproof with the armor of God she is wearing. She actually is, right? She is bulletproof. And she represents a man who is the vector of the single largest and observed miracle in humankind. Donald Trump. Pretty cool. Pretty awesome. So yeah, Karoline Leavitt, bulletproof, man. Because she's protected by the blood of Christ. It's time to just straight up say it. That's pretty awesome to see. I got to tell you, it's pretty amazing to see. The reason why that clip is so incredible is, one, of course, she knows it's going to be posted. She's not ashamed. She's doing it in front of her staff. And right by the little blue door, you can see there, she's doing it where reporters could hear her, right? That's what not being ashamed of the Son of God, Jesus Christ. That's what it looks like, actually, to be somebody in her position. I'm sure there's plenty of press secretaries who've prayed. They've never done it publicly. Plenty of press secretary who said silent prayers. Like, this is Karoline Leavitt just ready to rock. It's awesome to see, man. Shout out Karoline Leavitt. Love for Karoline Leavitt. I like to see the classified War Department and OSS files from World War II. Yes. A lot of huge messes were covered up and disguised in myths that we believe genuine history. Steve Bolin. I'm not sure that you've been tracking some of the CIA docs about Hitler, but whoa, dude. Whoa. Did Hitler actually die in Berlin? There seems to be quite a CIA trail that says that he actually escaped to Argentina. There's been zero physical evidence of Hitler actually dying in Berlin in a bunker. Is that a mythos that was created? Was there a deal struck? Is this what Operation Paperclip is all about? Operation Paperclip. We smuggled the top Nazi scientists and engineers right into America and staffed the CIA with them. You want to know why the country took such a horrific turn in the wrong direction in the 1960s? I can tell you, I guarantee you it's because of that. In part. But that's what happened. Look up Operation Paperclip. Also, the Russians claim to have had the skull of Hitler, and they did DNA testing, and it was the skull of a 40-year-old female. It's all been a lie. CIA files reveal search for Hitler in South America 10 years after his suicide. Argentina prepares to release classified docs on Nazis. We'll see. Steve Bolin, I'd love to see him, man. I would love to see him. Same side who wants to take your guns away, make jokes about school shootings. Let that sink in for a minute. That's exactly right. They do want to do those things, and yeah, it's awful. They also don't care about mass shootings unless, if you cared about mass shootings, then if you cared about shootings, murder, and violence, then we would be having a large, robust conversation about the demographic data that undergirds where the violence is coming from in our society. Young black males. That is what all of the data plays out. I'm sorry if that offends you. You can go to Grok right now, or I did this with Google AI. Google AI did this yesterday. Oh man, super based Google AI. Was there's horrific, disproportionate data about the levels of violence in this group. And the only way that you solve a problem is to be able to talk about it. This is something that is constantly happening at my company or in my marriage or within my household. You have to name the problem. You have to address it head on. So what the hell is going on there? Anyway, the point here is that if you want to solve this, then we have to be able to have an honest conversation about this. What protections do these corrupt celebrities think they'll have by moving to England? Unless they all live underground, try dodging getting stabbed or arrested for posting a meme on a daily basis. They do arrest people for posting memes. There are stabbings in London have gone up 50% year over year. I'm sorry, not year over year. Since 2018, they've gone up 50%. So, not good. What protections will corrupt celebrities have? Well, they all moved. Like Ellen moved to the Cotswolds, which is like the Beverly Hills of London, right? So the fancy little farming area where all the celebrities live. So I also find it particularly fascinating that they moved to only white countries. The only places that celebrity moved are majority white countries. You've never seen a single celebrity move to Haiti. Why is that? I thought Haiti was great already. No celebrity in the history of celebrities has moved to an African country. Why is that? Can somebody explain that to me? I'd like to know. Goodness gracious. I don't know. We've got the warning from the White House that the press conference is imminent. So, ladies and gentlemen, stick with us. What you're seeing on your screen here is a live shot. You can see Peter Doocy head there without the bird on it. Peter Doocy was attacked by a bird. We never played that in a show, so I think we might as well just do it. Let's just do it. Grab me that Peter Doocy. Peter Doocy had a bird straight up attack him multiple times while live on Fox. Can you grab me that clip? Poor guy. Just because we want something, we want more fun things to talk about. I hope they question his ties with Biden. Otherwise, it's rigged. Is this in Manus Het? Manus Het. Is this in concert with? Okay, when was it asked? 12:48 p.m. So it would be the assassins. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Did Joe Biden know about these Trump assassinations? It sure as hell seemed like people working inside of Joe Biden's administration were helping orchestrate it. We've covered this in ad infinitum on this program, but we'll keep covering it. Speaking of being covered, here is, before we do the next super chat, here is Peter Doocy getting attacked by a bird. We hope this doesn't happen live when Karoline Leavitt is live in just a minute here. But this did happen to Peter Doocy just a day or two ago.
Right. Yeah, Peter, I appreciate it.
A bird just landed on my head.
What is going on? What was that about?
I did not like that at all.
Peter, the back of your head, your hair's standing up now.
I mean, you got good hair, though.
What is going on?
That's probably so dirty.
To be scary.
It's probably so dirty.
Right.
Did he say dirty?
Dirty.
Scary.
I know.
Hey, President Trump, if you're watching upstairs, we got to do something about these birds.
Absolutely.
Where's the Park Service? The parks, they're always out here sweeping the street and blowing, except when the birds are landing on my head.
Oh my God.
Right. I hope it didn't have the flu.
That's right. Yeah, great. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter.
Can we get the shampoo guy down here?
Right.
Oh my God.
Somebody get some tennis.
All right. I'll be following the chat on that one. Chat, what do you think about that? What do you think about the bird landing on Peter Doocy? Let me know what you think. If you're a man, put up that tweet, please, right there on the screen. I mean, who knows, right? Might have been might have been, are birds real? ALX, are birds real? ALX doesn't think birds are real. ALX thinks that birds are this. Oh, okay. So ALX is actually put together. So ALX created this diagram for us of what birds actually are and sent it in. It's just a small sketch that he just made that he had prepared for this exact moment. So we don't know, but okay, assuming that this is what a bird is, if we may go back, please, ever so kindly, to the last tweet. There you go. Is this the deep state attacking Peter Doocy with one of their robo-birds? We don't know. Is it President Trump sending a little bird after? Did President Trump not like the reporting? Were they talking about tariffs or something? And this is how President Trump gets back at Fox News. Who knows? Will we see a lot more of this? Is this the new way that the White House is gonna get at the fake news? I'm not calling Peter Doocy fake news. I like Peter Doocy. When I watch this clip as somebody who's, who we have a show here, we're proud of it. We're on camera. We do interviews here and there. We're on PBD last week. You have to think through what would happen if I was attacked by an animal. And the thing you don't want to look like is a little pansy. You don't want to go run screaming and flail your arms and stuff, or talk about how dirty the bird is. It's a bird. It's kind of cool that a bird lands on you, right? Isn't that kind of cool? In some religions, it's like a blessing or something. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. I don't know. Are birds real? Chat, let me know. Are birds real? ALX says they're not real. ALX says they're government drones. Okay, back to the press conference. This is the press conference, ladies and gentlemen. It will be live. This is a live shot of the press conference. You can see here the dais is still empty. We have a warning though that the press conference is imminent, and that warning is obviously locked in because everybody is sit down. If it's not imminent, then there'll be a bunch of they'll be up there yapping, kind of like I am. Here's the ALX on Tim Pool's show, I think. Yes, okay, Tim Pool. Helen Kellen denier and birds aren't real. Is that what the hat says? Okay, this is ALX. Is it the hat? The hat says birds aren't real? Okay, good. I think it says Helen Kellen denier, right, on the shirt? Something like that. Okay. All right. There you go. Oh, would you look at this? Scientists in New Mexico giving dead birds new life with unconventional approach to wildlife research, converting them into drones. All right. So, ALX, what do you know about the Peter Doocy attack? Okay. We love you, Benny, family crew. Y'all make the news. Not so bad. Chat here is the best. Much love. Chat, we love the chat. We love you, chat. We're just here to chill out together, right? We're just going to have like a good time. Thank you, Queen Bees Art Hive. Thank you, Queen Bees Art Hive. God bless you. You are literally my favorite YouTuber. Thank you, says Nate Branch. Well, Nate, I love that. And you should get a hold of ALX and we'll send you some merch, right? Get a hold of ALX at ALX@BennyJohnson.com. Sorry, ALX. Get a hold of ALX. Not hard to guess. And if you're watching, then Nate Branch, we'll send you merch. Come on. Let's go. Why did the dictator of Venezuela meet BLM founders? Is there an image of that? Please search. Let's find out. Why did the dictator of Venezuela meet with the BLM founders? Well, because they're both Marxists. I'd love to see a photo of this. This is not a story that we've covered, but this doesn't surprise me at all. They're all Marxists because they're all communists. So it'd be, yeah, did it really happen? Wow. Black activists honor Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in Harlem. Would you look at that? Okay, birds of a feather drone together, don't they? Birds of a feather flock together. Oh, they call them truly extraordinary. They're all Marxists. They're all like dirty, filthy, bloodthirsty Marxists. Okay? I don't like Venezuela. Where the hell would we be without Benny and the team? Love you guys. Hearts out to Melissa Gagnon. Sorry about that. We need a Wong to answer. We need a Wong for the pronunciation there. Can you get me the cold? Can you get me the cold for yeah.
How did I know?
That's right.
Oh,
Wong! Klein makes an appearance. Okay. Klein makes an appearance in it. Good old Klein Wong. Okay, here we go. Should Scott Pressler of CNN get his press pass revoked? Always carry outdoors. Casey was horrible with the questions yesterday. So this is Scott Pressler. I get it. We're going to have to... Ashley, quick, find me the side-by-side. Scott Pressler and Caitlin Collins. There's a side-by-side. That's great. They do look exactly like. They're like the same person, except for Caitlin Collins, I think, has more masculine features. Yeah. Yes. Caitlin Collins has slightly more... Just like Michelle Obama and her brother's podcast. Like Michelle Obama's brother has more feminine features. There you go. Look at this. Whoa. Are you registered to vote at your current address? I'd give anything for this to happen. If CNN had like any guts at all, they'd do it. The ratings would be the ratings would be in orbit. Farther in orbit than Katy Perry. Scott Pressler Scott Presler regularly trolling, saying, oof, I look really angry tonight. Okay. Yeah. So this is what Always Carry Outdoors is talking about. Scott Presler of CNN. Should the press pass get revoked? Yeah, I mean, listen, you don't have a right to scream and yell like a little banshee inside of the Oval Office, and that's all she did yesterday. She's turning into Mini Acosta. She's making a name for herself by like trying to scream and yell and harp and bitch at President Trump all day, and it's really, really annoying. And of course, it's like very rude to fellow journalists because then they don't get to ask questions. And we saw it live. We took it live yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. I was 25 miles from the South Dakota earthquake yesterday. Felt a big shake and heard a boom. The shaking started. And other reporting, the same. Please red map ornaments. Oh. The old red map ornaments. Man, we're going to redo the red map ornaments. We're going to do more of them this year. We're going to start earlier so we can get more out. We ran out this past year doing the official Benny Show ornament. So trust me, we will be locked in. This is Guy Voice. This is Guy Voice. There was a big earthquake in San Diego yesterday. I saw the SD, capitalized SD, just kind of go straight to the state abbreviation. It was in San Diego. Thankfully, it was in a remote place, but something very weird was happening. I bet this happened to you if you're in the area. People said, bzzz, they got an alert on their phone. There's an earthquake, but they didn't feel the earthquake until like 10, 20 seconds later, which is crazy tech. Just got the 2-minute warning. Let's pop it up. Just got the 2-minute warning inside of the press room. So just letting you know. Here, got the 2-minute warning. So did that happen to you? Gavois, did that happen? Guy Voice, did that happen to you? Geovis, did you get like, bzzz, did you get like the warning and then you felt the earthquake like 10 seconds later, 30 seconds later? I think that's crazy awesome tech that could save someone's life. Thankfully, we've heard, ALX, please correct me if I'm wrong, nobody died yesterday. There was stuff that was shaken. There's like, obviously, there's visible shakes, but nobody was horribly injured or anything like that. Not that I've heard of. We covered it, but it was early when we covered it. Nate Branch should be emailing ALX to get some free merch. Come on, man. Hey, Benny, just want to say you're amazing. Love you. Everything you do. God is good. God is good. God bless. Thank you, Nate. Thank you very much. No major injuries, says ALX about the Matt Foldy is in the new media chair, which is really funny. Would this be then the Federalist? Right? Like he works for the Federalist, so he's the reporter in the new media chair. Matt Foldy is super bass, like cool dude. Free Beacon? Who does he represent now? He just got seated. Ben, I've got my super salt chucker ready. I'd like to become part of the Mod Squad. I'd love to take some trolls out for you. Please take them out with salt. Salt that libs. Come on, man. Come on, guys. The Washington Reporter. Okay, there you go. Come on, guys. We haven't done a Salt That Lib in so long. I got one. Nick Shirley on Caroline on Caitlin Collins yesterday. Grab that clip. Nick trolling Caitlin Collins to her face. So Caitlin Collins kept yapping yesterday at Donald Trump. And this reporter, Nick Shirley, who's awesome, filmed her afterwards. And it was so fun to see like the cameras flipped around on her. That can be Assault That Lib. That could have been Assault That Lib for today. Gotta get more salt. Gotta get more salty libs. That's a funny clip. Do you think we have 18 seconds, Klein? Think we have 18 seconds? All right, let's try it. We can try it. We can try it. We won't miss anything. I promise you. We won't miss anything. We won't let anything miss. All right? We won't let anything miss. We got okay, here we go. Here's Assault That Lib. Let's go.
close to 9.
How do you guys feel like your briefing went?
We didn't do a briefing.
Or how do you guys feel like your questions went?
Typical Monday, you know?
And is it normal for Trump to attack you like that?
Wait,
No? How's that usually go?
We didn't do the salt. We gotta give it a salt. Anyway, thank you. This one's for you, okay? So this is for Sovereign Night. We literally did a salt just for you, Sovereign Night. Okay? That was just for you. Just heart out to the chat. Heart out to the chat. And we didn't miss Karoline. Karoline! She's still... Well, we're not exactly sure. Maybe she's saying her prayer now. We don't know. Okay. Thank you, Sovereign Night. You are now a mod, says Ashley. Good for you. Benny, please use your influence for Justin for Austin Metcalf. My heart has been broken. He could have been my son. This is exactly right, Samantha. Are we going to get in trouble for saying this? I don't care. Like, it shouldn't be a race thing. Like, it's not a race thing. It could be anyone's son. The disproportionate people, it's just like, wow, how dare you read the FBI statistics on black crime? Well, you know who's like the victim of black crime? Black people. You could really make the argument that this is the most pro-black argument you could ever make. The vast majority of the victims of black crime are black people. That's the data. Sorry it offends you. That's the FBI data. We put it up. We can put it up. Got those stats. So, like, when we talk about this, it's actually one of the nicest things we could possibly do. It's one of the best things you could... One of the greatest kindnesses you can do is to tell people about the world as it is. It's the only way you're going to make the world what you want it to be. And so, yes, we are using our power here. It could have been your son. It could have been anyone's son. And that's what we want to stop. So that's why the data is so important on this stuff. We're grabbing the data. Here is Karoline Leavitt. Whoa.
I apologize for my tardiness, but I came directly from the Oval. I have some newsy updates to share from the president, which I know you all very much value and appreciate. So let's get to it. The president promised millions of Christians across the country on the campaign trail that he would create a White House faith office when he returned to the White House, and he has delivered on that promise. The White House Faith Office has put together an extraordinary week-long celebration currently underway for Holy Week ahead of Easter Sunday. The president signed a Holy Week proclamation, filmed a special presidential video message, and will be hosting a pre-Easter dinner tomorrow night and a White House staff Easter worship service on Thursday. The president and the First Lady are honored to continue the tradition of the White House Easter egg roll, which will take place on the South Lawn next Monday. In other news, President Trump is turning America into a manufacturing superpower again. Yesterday, there was a monumental announcement by NVIDIA, one of the largest companies in the world. This is just the latest example. For the first time ever, chip-making giant NVIDIA will produce AI supercomputers entirely in the United States as part of its pledge to produce $50 billion worth of AI infrastructure in our country over the next 4 years. With their manufacturing partners, they have commissioned more than 1 million square feet of manufacturing space to build and test NVIDIA Blackwell chips in the great state of Arizona and AI supercomputers in the great state of Texas. NVIDIA's founder and CEO Jensen Huang touted how the engines of the world's AI infrastructure are being built in the United States for the first time. This is the Trump effect. This follows trillions in other U.S. investments announced already, including $500 billion from Apple in U.S.-based manufacturing and training, $100 billion from TSMC and U.S.-based chips manufacturing, and the $500 billion private investment led by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank in artificial intelligence infrastructure. Under President Trump, we're going to produce the cars, the ships, the chips, the airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America at the hands of American workers. On the border, President Trump continues to break records and protect our homeland. According to CBP, Border Patrol apprehensions along the southwest border for the entire month of March 2025 were lower than the first 2 days of March 2024 under Joe Biden. Incredible law enforcement officers are arresting violent illegal aliens from American communities every day. Here are a few examples from the latest ICE report, which I received this morning. ICE Los Angeles arrested a 54-year-old citizen of Mexico convicted of rape by threat, sodomy with a person under 14 years, and kidnapping in San Jose, California. ICE Houston has arrested a 23-year-old citizen of Mexico convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault of a child in Cook County, Illinois. ICE Houston arrested a 64-year-old citizen of Honduras convicted of murder in Los Angeles County, California. ICE Chicago arrested a 49-year-old citizen of Guatemala convicted of assault and arson in Prince Williams, Virginia, not far from here. ICE Denver arrested a 36-year-old citizen of Mexico who is registered as a sex offender and has been convicted of sexual assault of a child in Lake County, Colorado. ICE Baltimore arrested a 50-year-old citizen of China convicted of sex trafficking in Bel Air, Maryland. And ICE Boston arrested a 46-year-old citizen of Jamaica convicted of 3 counts of rape of a child and 2 counts of indecent assault and battery of a child under 14 in Boston, Massachusetts. President Trump and our administration will not rest until every single violent illegal alien is removed from our country. The safety of the American people is too important to settle for anything less. On that note, the Democrat and media outrage over the deportation of Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 El Salvadorian illegal alien criminal who is hiding in Maryland, has been nothing short of despicable. Based on the sensationalism of many of the people in this room, you would think we deported a candidate for Father of the Year. That's because, unfortunately, many in this country care more about this quote-unquote Maryland father, a legal alien MS-13 gang member, than a Maryland mother and an American citizen who was brutally murdered at the hands of a different illegal alien. Of course, I am referring to Rachel Morin. And if you didn't see yesterday, a Maryland jury found illegal alien Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez guilty of murdering Rachel Morin in August of 2023. She was a 37-year-old mother of 5 who was jogging in an otherwise safe community northeast of Baltimore when this monster ambushed, strangled, and beat her to death before stuffing her brutalized body in a tunnel drain. The Morin family finally got justice yesterday, but they will never get Rachel back. Our hearts go out to Rachel's family, her 5 children, and her mother, Patty, who has suffered the unimaginable loss of her daughter. In case you missed it last week, President Trump signed a national security presidential memorandum directing federal agencies administering federal land on the border to make land available to the Defense Department in a new national defense area. This followed the president's day 1 executive order committing his administration to marshal all available resources and authorities to stop the unprecedented flood of illegal aliens into our country and to obtain complete operational control of the borders of the United States of America. Once again, the president is fulfilling another key promise. This new national defense area spans more than 170 miles across our border in New Mexico. But in the coming weeks, this administration will add more than 90 miles in the state of Texas. This national defense area will enhance our ability to detect, interdict, and prosecute the illegal aliens, criminal gangs, and terrorists who were able to invade our country without consequence for the past 4 years under the Biden administration. It will also bolster our defenses against fentanyl and other dangerous narcotics that have been poisoning our communities. With all of this work being done to make America great again, we continue to see a positive response from the American public. A brand new poll published from the Daily Mail and JL Partners this morning found that President Trump's approval rating is at an all-time high. That's because the president is working tirelessly to keep his promises to the American people, as I just saw him doing today in the Oval Office. We have a reporter in our new media seat today, Matthew Foldy. I like your boots, Matt, who is the editor-in-chief of the Washington Reporter. Washington Reporter is a new, fast-growing outlet that breaks stories about legislation and interviews leaders in Congress and across the administration. The publication's readership includes the highest levels of business and government. And with that, please kick us off, Matt.
And we've interviewed you as well. So Karoline, thanks so much for having me here on behalf of our readership and the millions of Americans who I think appreciate what you're doing with the new media seat here and making this more accessible briefing room. I'm curious with Harvard, we saw the Trump administration today announced it's cutting around $2 billion, or freezing $2 billion in funds to Harvard because the campus has serious problems with violence and with anti-Semitism. We We saw President Obama, former President Obama, side with Harvard, which rejected the Trump administration's demands. I'm curious, where does the administration see this going with Harvard and with other colleges and universities in America that are refusing to reform in wake of the sort of craziness that we've seen take over some of them?
Thank you, Matt, for being here, and thanks for the question. When it comes to Harvard, the president's position on this is grounded in common sense, in the basic principle that Jewish American students or students of any faith should not be illegally harassed and targeted on our nation's college campuses. And we unfortunately saw that illegal discrimination take place on the campus of Harvard. There are countless examples to prove it, particularly with the stunning confession by then Harvard President Claudine Gay, who said that bullying and harassment depended on the context. The president at that time made it clear to the American public he was not going to tolerate illegal harassment and anti-Semitism taking place in violations of federal law. So the president made it clear to Harvard, follow federal law, no longer break Title VI, which was passed by Congress to ensure no student can be discriminated against on the basis of race, and you will receive federal funding. Unfortunately, Harvard has not taken the president or the administration's demands seriously. All the president is asking, don't break federal law, and then you can have your federal funding. I think the president is also begging a good question. More than $2 billion out the door to Harvard when they have a more than $50 billion endowment. Why are the American taxpayers subsidizing a university that has billions of dollars in the bank already? And we certainly should not be funding a place where such grave anti-Semitism exists.
I'm curious, you had just mentioned Rachel Morin. I'm a Maryland man, and I think most Marylanders appreciate what you were saying today. We've seen that Chris Van Hollen, who was Rachel Morin's senator, basically threatening to fly to El Salvador to press for the release of someone who was in America illegally. What, and not as much sort of from him about Rachel Morin's horrific murder and the verdict that was, I think, rightly reached yesterday. What does the administration think about the priorities we're seeing from Senate Democrats in terms of illegal immigrants instead of the work that agencies like ICE and DHS are doing with the Trump administration?
It's mind-boggling, the priorities of the modern-day Democrat Party. I think it's atrocious that you have Democrats in Congress on Capitol Hill who swear an oath to protect their constituents and to serve them in Washington, D.C., spending more time defending illegal immigrant gang members than their own constituents and law-abiding American citizens like Rachel Morin. And I saw the president personally on the campaign trail, and I continue to see him in his role as president of the United States, put American families first, reach out to the victims, the families of victims at the hands of illegal immigrant crime. And frankly, the actions and the words of the Democrat Party prove they could not care less about the American public. And maybe if they did, they'd see a bit higher approval ratings right now. Thanks for being here with us today. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. To follow up on something that you just said, why do Ivy League schools get so much federal funding?
It's a very good question. And it's a question the president has obviously raised in his discussions and negotiations with not just Harvard, but also Columbia and many other Ivy League institutions. We have the anti-Semitism task force, which the president promised and delivered on. The anti-Semitism task forces across the government, representatives from various federal agencies who meet on a weekly basis to discuss the question that you just raised. And I think a lot of Americans are wondering why their tax dollars are going to these universities when they are not only indoctrinating our nation's students, but also allowing such egregious illegal behavior to occur.
To follow up on immigration, deporting American citizens to Central American prisons, is it legal, or do you need to change the law to do it?
Well, it's another question that the president has raised. It's a legal question that the president is looking into. And he talked about this yesterday when with his meeting with President Bukele in the Oval Office. He would only consider this, if legal, for Americans who are the most violent, egregious, repeat offenders of crime, who nobody in this room wants living in their communities.
And then there's this CHNV thing. President Biden let more than 530,000 people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela into the U.S. with this CHNV program. He did it with the stroke of a pen. And now a judge will not let President Trump undo it with the stroke of a pen. So are you guys going to give all 530,000 plus people individual deportation hearings, or Or are you just going to try to deport them?
I spoke to White House counsel's office about this morning because obviously another rogue district court judge is trying to block the administration's mass deportation efforts with this latest injunction. We will fight this in the court of law, and we will ensure that every individual who illegally entered our country and was really taken advantage of by the previous administration because they abused the parole system in this country to fast track legal status, as they said, for these illegal immigrants. And they completely abused our legal system. Many of these paroled individuals were then given temporary protective status, which the intention of that TPS was only supposed to be used in times of war or storm or destruction in the home countries of these migrants. It was completely abused. These migrants came here for economic reasons, and they illegally entered our country, and the president is not going to tolerate that. And so we will continue to focus on deporting as many individuals as we can. Jennifer.
One on tariffs and one on Russia. Can you give us any sort of an update on which deals are in hand or are close? Which countries are reaching a deal on tariffs? And then on Russia, can you give us an update on what the agreement was with Russia? The president yesterday said that he thinks we'll be seeing some very good deals very soon. Can you talk a little bit about what Russia agreed to?
Sure. I don't want to get ahead of our United States Trade Ambassador and Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of Treasury, all the great individuals who are working incredibly hard to cut these good trade deals. And the president's deeply involved in this as well. He has made it clear to his trade team he wants to personally sign off on all of these deals too. And so I don't want to get ahead of them on announcements. But obviously, as you've heard from numerous administration officials, there have been many talks with countries. We've had more than 15 deals, pieces of paper put on the table, proposals that are actively being considered. And as we've said consistently, more than 75 countries have reached out. So there's a lot of work to do. We very much understand that, but we do believe that we can announce some deals very soon.
And then on Russia, can you say, did Russia agree to anything with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff?
I don't want to get ahead of those negotiations as well. What I can tell you is that they were a productive conversation was had. As the presidential envoy Steve Witkoff said last night, he believes that Russia wants to end this war, and the president believes that as well. There is incentive for Russia to end this war, and perhaps that could be economic partnerships with the United States, but we need to see a ceasefire first, and the president and the presidential envoy Witkoff made that very clear to the Russians. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. And I also want to thank your press office for releasing that information that you cited up there regarding the ICE arrests over the last couple of days. And I have them right here, but what I might ask is why not release the same information for those who were deported to El Salvador?
Well, first of all, the information was released by the Department of Homeland Security. The individuals on the flights to El Salvador are foreign terrorists, and those are counterterrorism operations. They are much different than the arrests and final order of removals that you see on a day-to-day basis that law enforcement agents are conducting around the country.
That information was not, to that detail, was not released by DHS, though.
I just told you the reason. It was a counterterrorism operation, a deportation of foreign terrorists, not illegal criminals who have been convicted of heinous crimes living in our American communities. It's two different things. Foreign terrorist, illegal immigrant criminal, two different things, two different definitions. You should look them up. Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. Does the president support raising the corporate tax rate to pay for all these other tax cuts he wants to see move through Congress?
Look, I've seen this idea proposed. I've heard this idea discussed, but I don't believe the president has made a determination on whether he supports it or not.
And then secondly, do you have any information on the status of Eden Alexander? Hamas says they lost contact with the unit guarding him following an Israeli airstrike earlier today.
I don't have updates. I have not seen that report, but I can certainly check in with our National Security Council. I have spoken to the president about Eden Alexander, and he's made it very clear to our national security team that finding him is a priority, but unfortunately I don't have any updates to share, but it's a very important matter, and certainly we can check in. Sure.
Hi. How concerned is the president that a federal judge could hold a Trump administration official in contempt of court for defying deportation orders?
We are complying with all court orders. So I see what you're trying to do there with that question, but we're very confident that every action taken by this administration is within the confines of the law, and we continue to comply with the court's orders. And you have seen that, and the president made that clear yesterday in the Oval Office with President Bukele. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. Could you, just going back to El Salvador, could you just explain to us a little bit more about the legal basis on which you may be able to send US citizens to prison there? I know you said that President Trump is looking at it, but can you explain to us a little bit more about how that might be possible?
We're looking at it, and when I have more for you to share, I certainly will. Sure.
Still going off the El Salvador questions. Yesterday in the Oval Office, administration officials made it very clear that El Salvador is responsible for Mr. Abrego Garcia. Yet El Salvador's president said we're not going to do anything with him. So my question is, who is responsible for this man and where he's going to end up?
Well, no. First of all, President Bukele said that he is not going to smuggle a foreign terrorist back into the United States of America, as many in this room in the Democrat Party seemingly want him to do. Abrego Garcia was a foreign terrorist. He is an MS-13 gang member. He was engaged in human trafficking. He illegally came into our country. And so deporting him back to El Salvador was always going to be the end result. There is never going to be a world in which this is an individual who's going to live a peaceful life in Maryland, because he is a foreign terrorist and a MS-13 gang member. Not only have we confirmed that, President Bukele yesterday in the Oval Office confirmed that as well. So he went back to his home country, where he will face consequences for his gang affiliation and his engagement in human trafficking. I'm not sure what is so difficult about this for everyone in the media to understand. And it's appalling, truly appalling, that there has been so much time covering this alleged human trafficker and this gang member, MS-13 gang member. It's truly striking to me. Karen.
The president was posting on Truth Social today about helping American farmers. And last week in his cabinet meeting, he was talking about a plan to work with farmers to retain workers who are in the U.S. illegally, provided that they leave and then come back through what he said would be a legal process. Can you give details on what that would look like? How many workers he's talking about, how long a plan like that would take to implement, and the timeline for more details on getting this actually to implementation?
I can check in with our immigration and our policy team and get you some more details on that, Karen.
Or is this something he wants to roll out soon? I mean, he was talking back and forth with Secretary Rollins.
Right.
This is kind of imminent that he wants to do this.
Yeah, look, the president is in constant communication with all of his cabinet secretaries, particularly Secretary Rollins, who has the backs of American farmers and ranchers. It's something that he spoke about with her in the front of all the cameras in the cabinet room, but I'll check in with not only our immigration team, but also with USDA, and we'll get you an answer. Jonathan.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, it's good to see you in here.
You too. The president has long said that it would be an abuse of power for a president to direct prosecutors to investigate him. Last week, President Trump explicitly directed the Justice Department to scrutinize Chris Krebs to see if it can find any evidence of criminal wrongdoing. How is that not an abuse of power to direct the Justice Department to look into an individual, a named individual?
Look, the president signed that executive order. It's the position of the president in this White House that it's well within his authority to do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed it. And he signed it, and that's his policy. Jeff, how you doing?
Hi, thanks, Caroline. A follow-up on Harvard. The president floated on Truth Social, I believe, the possibility of removing tax-exempt status. How serious is that threat, and are there other universities he's considering? And then a follow-up question on foreign policy. Can you give us an update on what the president hopes to come from the next round of talks with Iran?
Sure. First, when it comes to Harvard, as I said, the president has been quite clear they must follow federal law. He also wants to see Harvard apologize, and Harvard should apologize for the egregious anti-Semitism that took place on their college campus against Jewish American students. There were professors who said that he had engaged in discriminatory behavior against Jewish students. Of course, you had the former president of the university saying bullying and harassment depends on the context. You also had an encampment on Harvard Yard that we all saw play out before the cameras. The university failed to impose formal discipline on any students for this anti-Semitic conduct violations, including the occupation of a campus building and the disruption of classes with bullhorns. The president believes Harvard should apologize to its Jewish American students for allowing such egregious behavior. As for the tax-exempt status, I would defer you to the IRS for any updates. I do want to answer your question on Iran. Of course, the maximum pressure campaign on Iran continues, but as you know, the president has made it clear clear. He wants to see dialogue and discussion with Iran while making his directive about Iran never being able to obtain a nuclear weapon quite clear. And the president spoke to the Sultan of Oman today, who helped facilitate these talks. I have a readout for all of you. He held a call with the Sultan of Oman today, and he thanked him for hosting the first direct meeting between the United States and Iran and emphasized the need for Iran to end its nuclear program through negotiations. The two leaders also discussed the United States' ongoing operations against the Houthis and emphasized that the Houthis will pay a severe price until they end their attacks on maritime traffic in the Red Sea. As you know, an additional negotiation between Steve Witkoff and Iran's representative has been scheduled for Saturday. And since these are ongoing negotiations, I have nothing more to add on that. Sure.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. When you said that the president said that Iran will never have nuclear weapons, is the focus on dismantling the entire nuclear program, or it just restricting enriched uranium or the missile program?
The president does not want to see Iran have a nuclear program. He does not want Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been very clear about this. Shelby. Shelby, you have a seat today.
I know, stole it.
Glad to see it.
Two quick ones on TikTok. First, is the president expecting to extend the TikTok ban that's now June 19th if China doesn't come to the table in time?
Well, June 19th is a long ways away, obviously. I think it's 2 months away. 2 months is a long time in the Trump administration, as you have all seen. We work at Trump speed around here. We get a lot done. So definitely don't want to get ahead. The vice president continues to lead these negotiations and talks. The president's involved and they're ongoing.
And then the president previously said he'd consider reducing tariffs on China if, in order to get a TikTok deal done. Is that option still on the table?
Look, the president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country, except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America. Sure.
On tariffs, yesterday in the Oval Office.
Which outlet are you with?
The Canadian Public Broadcaster.
Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you. Yesterday in the Oval Office, President Trump suggested that there could be some help for automakers. I'm wondering what that looks like. Is it tariff relief on the 25% tariffs that are in place right now, or the new tariffs that are coming up in May on auto parts? And a second on Canada, if I may. President Trump's tone when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations, Canadians have noticed it's shifted a bit in the past few weeks. Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the president's position on Canada has shifted. Perhaps he just hasn't been asked about Canada by questions from this group in the Oval Office, but they see him almost every day. But the president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America. As for autos and auto parts, I don't have anything to read out for you there, but I think the point the president was making is flexibility, and he has flexibility when it comes to negotiations and talks. But ultimately, his goal in his fair trade deals that he is pursuing with many countries around the world is to put the American worker first. And we had automakers and auto workers here at the White House on Liberation Day who believe in this president and his negotiating ability to put them first and to bring those jobs back to the United States of America. And the president's been very clear about that in his conversations with the automakers as well. Deanna, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. One on Ukraine and one on China. On Ukraine, this past weekend, Zelensky offered an invitation to President Trump, extending an offer for him to visit Ukraine. Just wondering if there's any update on that. Has Trump seen that offer and what he's thinking about?
I don't know. Actually, I haven't talked to the president about that, or if he saw Zelensky's offer. I'm sure he did. I haven't spoken to him about it. I can ask him what he thinks. I certainly don't have any plans to share on a potential trip to Ukraine, though.
And then on China, this last week, Chinese officials were posting videos on social media sites depicting a Trump, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk in AI-generated videos working in factories, putting together Nike shoes and iPhones and products like that. Does the White House, have they seen these videos? Do you guys have a response to that?
I have seen the videos. I'm not sure who made the videos or if we can verify the authenticity, but whoever made it clearly does not see the potential of the American worker, the American workforce. The president believes in the American people, and he knows that we have the best not only consumer base in the world, but also the best workforce in the world. And that's why he's so focused on bringing investments home and shoring up our critical supply chains and bolstering our manufacturing here as well. Brett.
Would the president support a ban on members of Congress trading stocks?
I'm certain that's something the president would be interested in looking at, and I can ask him if he would support such a bill. Sure. Yes.
I have a question about the president's post from this morning on farmers. He asked farmers to be patient and just hold on. But a lot of farmers that I've talked to in the last week or so have said, they're in the middle of spring planting season, and that a trade war makes everything sort of up in the air. What would his message to them be? And also, is there anything specifically planned to provide relief like in President Trump's last term?
Yes, well, relief is being considered. The Secretary of Agriculture, I know, has spoken to the president about that. And again, it's being considered. And as for the president's message to the farmers, he put it out himself. He could speak for himself much better than I can speak for him. And so I would just direct you to the statement he had telling the farmers again and reiterating his support for them and that he has their backs, which he certainly does. Kelly, in the back.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 questions. The first one, a Georgia man was just arrested over alleged threats to kill Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Reportedly, there is now increased security around the FBI Deputy Director. Can you talk about the level of threats against various administration officials? And then a second one on Biden.
I'm sorry to hear that. I had not seen that report. It's very unfortunately, and obviously the White House, the president, and the entire administration condemn any threats of violence against any administration officials or public officials on both sides of the aisle here in Washington, D.C. It shouldn't be tolerated, and we commend the local law enforcement agencies for arresting this individual.
Biden, he's former President Biden. He's set to deliver his first major speech since leaving office tonight. He plans to talk about what I'm told will be Social Security under the current administration, closing of offices, longer wait times, harder for seniors and people with disabilities to access earned benefits is what Democrats have been saying today. I wanted to get the president's response, or if he plans to respond to this, and comments on what Democrats are calling cuts to Social Security.
My first reaction when seeing former President Biden was speaking tonight was I'm shocked that he is speaking at nighttime. I thought his bedtime was much earlier than his speech tonight. I understand the topic of his speech will be Social Security. Let me make it very clear ahead of former President Biden's remarks. President Trump, is absolutely certain about protecting Social Security benefits for law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens and seniors who have paid into this program. He will always protect that program. He campaigned on it. He protected it in his first term, and he's back again to continue protecting it. On the topic of Social Security, I have some news before I let you all go. Later this afternoon, the president will be signing a presidential memorandum aimed at stopping illegal aliens and other ineligible people from obtaining Social Security Act benefits. The memorandum will direct the administration to ensure ineligible aliens are not receiving funds from the Social Security Act programs. It will expand the Social Security Administration's fraud prosecutor program to at least 50 U.S. attorney offices and establishes a Medicare and Medicaid fraud prosecution program in 15 U.S. attorney offices. The memorandum will also require the Social Security Administration Inspector General to investigate earning reports for individuals aged 100 or older with mismatched Social Security records to combat identity theft. And the memorandum will direct the Social Security Administration to consider whether to reinstate the use of civil monetary penalties against individuals who engage in Social Security fraud, an effort that has been paused for several years. These taxpayer-funded benefits should be only for eligible taxpayers. And President Biden should think about what he did in his last term, which is allow tens of millions of illegal people into our country, many of whom were fraudulently receiving these benefits. So you'll hear from the president on that later, and we will see you later in the East Room. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Caroline.
All right, baby. Come on, it's like such a softball with the Biden question. So Joe Biden's giving a speech. Oh, I thought it was past his bedtime. This is like the best. She got a little feisty there. Some of the questions, but you know, just the golden era. typical golden era fare. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to get to today, and we've been live for now 3 hours. Absolutely, like right on the nose, 3 hours. So why not jump into our verse of the day? And let's go. Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Something you should practice in your regular life. Obviously, it's very, very hard to do this. It is a tough one, but when you forgive somebody and when you let things go, you're actually doing a kindness to yourself. I know it seems like quite selfish, and maybe that's not the intention of the verse, but the most miserable people on earth, you see them at the end of their lives, are the people who have bitterness and resentment towards somebody else and some wrong that's been done to them. And wrong is done to all of us at all, like a lot. And that's just the way it is. We live in a sunken place. So like liberate yourself, right? Like by forgiveness, by forgiving and asking for forgiveness, by being humble and doing your very best to take as much responsibility as you possibly can for your life. And part of that is like just forgiving people. Yeah, do not be overcome by evil. Overcome evil with good. This, if you're a light of heart, you can absolutely do this. And don't we all want to overcome evil with good? We are having our final day for our Tesla giveaway. It's the final day to sign up for the Tesla giveaway. And the Tesla giveaway is you just got to put in your email. You've got to subscribe. And here it is. There you go. You have to put in your email because we got to be able to get a hold of you, right? We're going to be selecting a winner and then notifying and then hand delivering our Tesla. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be happening quite soon. So sign up today. Overcoming evil with good is what the show is all about. We thank you. We love the chat. We even have a section called Love the Chat now. In the chat. Love the chat. In the chat. We love the chat. All right? Let's rock and roll. Have a great day in this, the greatest country on earth. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.